All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for waiting patiently for the intro to finish up. As always, hope everybody is doing well on this Thursday. We have more PlayStation related topics to go over and discuss today. So I hope you guys are ready. Carlos, could you try typing that again? I don't know if I'm reading what you're saying correctly. See somebody saying Astro Game of the Year. And boss is already starting, man. Wow. But yeah, we have some interesting topics that we're going to be covering today. His donation button is gone. You might want to refresh the application. I don't know if you're on desktop, try refreshing the page. If you're on phone, try closing the YouTube app and then coming back to the stream. Yeah, it glitches out sometimes. I don't know why. So if you're trying to donate a super chat or something like that, or a membership gift and it's not there, I can't promise that we'll fix it, but it does happen from time to time. All right, let me give you guys a rundown of the topics that we're going to be talking about today. So the first topic of discussion has to do with Naughty Dog's new game. We have a little bit of an update on this game, and it's nothing too revealing, but it's something that I think is important to go over and discuss because, honestly, people have been wondering for literally years now what Naughty Dog's next game is and when we can expect to see it. So we're going to be talking about that, and this comes directly from Neil Druckmann, by the way. We're also going to be talking about Phil Spencer taking a light jab, taking just a light jab at the PS5 Pro, but kind of talking about whether or not he's correct in what he's saying. We're also going to be talking about the first batch of PS5 Pro sales data that reveals something quite interesting that I think some people might be very surprised by. And we're also going to be talking about some PS5 Pro testing that was done as well. Yas, that's your name. I did see that. Be very, very careful. Be very careful of that. Okay? I've been seeing stuff like that as well. And listen, I did not have fun making my video today. I'll be honest with you. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy making a video where the main first topic of discussion is the rumor of a PlayStation State of Play and or showcase. I shouldn't say and showcase because both of those things would not happen at the same time. But I did enjoy having to basically crush everybody's hopes because Jeff Grubb confirmed that there is not going to be a show. And listen, I guess I'll talk about this first just because I do still see some people talking about it. I felt like I had to cover that because the video I made yesterday was the opposite. The video I made yesterday was Sony potentially doing a big show and seeing people, well, not too many people get excited, but see some people maybe becoming cautiously optimistic, as was I. And, you know, I know that there are still people holding on to hope, but just to clarify, in case anybody missed this, Jeff Grubb, he did double down on his recent show. I forget what he calls his show. Mess Mornings, I think, is what he calls them. Games Mess, I mean. He doubled down and he said that his source is positive there is no PlayStation show. That's how he worded it. Now, considering this is the same source that would give Jeff Grubb the information for the state of plays or the showcases over the last 2 or 3 years and has been correct every time. Every single time he's been correct. I'm going to trust Jeff Grubb on this one. And specifically, I'm going to trust Jeff Grubb's source, and that if they're saying Sony is not doing an event, I'm going to believe that. And I know that that's very disappointing, but I suggest if you're somebody who's still holding out hope, you just embrace this, because if you don't, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be very let down by the time the first week of December rolls around and there's no announcement of a state of play or a showcase. I don't think it's that PlayStation doesn't have anything to show. No, I don't think it's that. I think what's very likely is that whatever Sony does want to show, they're going to give it to Jeff Keighley for the Game Awards. I think there are people who don't quite understand how big the Game Awards are. I think people don't understand that. Because I do understand why somebody might ask the question, why would Sony give Jeff Grubb significant announcements if they were planning on making any significant announcements before the end of the year? Why not do it themselves? It's because of the viewership that the Game Awards gets. The Game Awards gets mass viewership, and it's been increasing every single year. It's basically the new E3. So if you're Sony, it does make logical sense to maybe just say, you know what, we have maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 significant things to reveal. Maybe we'll just put them in the Game Awards. Sony did this last year. I don't know if people forgot, but Sony had a major presence at the Game Awards last year when it comes to talking and showing stuff, not just from their own studios, but from their partners as well. So I wanted to address this up front because I know that there is a lot of disappointment and a lot of hope as well, depending on who you ask in regards to a PlayStation show. But I think we do also need to remember that Sony did just do a significant state of play in September. It hasn't even been 3 months, So they did reveal a major first-party game. These are things that I think people do need to keep in mind when they are, thinking about the idea of Sony doing a show in December. And I understand it's their 30th anniversary, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I do think this would be a great time for Sony to do something like that. But that's just not the way Sony operates these days. They will probably do some type of celebration, to be clear. I think Sony will celebrate their 30th anniversary, but I don't think that's going to come in the form of new game announcements and a show. So, anyway, yeah, so we're going to dive into these topics, but before we do, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I see Josh says, if Rebirth doesn't win Game of the Year, I will never watch the Game Awards again. Josh, there's a lot riding on this for you, man. We'll see. I think Rebirth has a really good chance of winning Game of the Year. So, we will see. But I want to thank everybody for watching. I also want to give a shout out to anybody who can't catch the streams live, but you watch the streams later on. I do appreciate your viewership. I want to ask you guys to please take a moment and hit that like button. We're already sitting at 70 likes, which is much appreciated. Let's see if we can bump that up to 100 likes. It helps the streams more than you know. I also want to let you guys know a couple of ways you can support the channel directly. Okay, we are fan-funded here. You guys are the sponsors of the channel. You guys make this content possible, and you guys support the community in this way. So the ways in which you can support directly: become a channel member, gain access to exclusive perks, such as the Members Lounge and member-only content. We did just do a Members Lounge yesterday. It was a little bit off the cuff, but it was an hour long, and I enjoyed hanging out with you guys for a bit. Also consider dropping membership gifts. Okay, we have a goal of 25 we're shooting for. If we hit 25 gifts, we'll feed the Beast and the Micro Panther. And I know a lot of people really appreciate those membership gifts. Thirdly, you can drop a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. And finally, there's a direct donation link pinned at the top of the chat. Essentially, it's a super chat, but 100% of what you donate goes directly towards the content creator. So thank you guys so much for all of your support and for fan funding the channel. It means a lot. Literally couldn't do it without you. But with that being said, we are going to dive into the first topic, which talks about Naughty Dog's next game and a update we got on it from Neil Druckmann himself, where he doesn't reveal what the game is, but he does reveal something that I think is critical to understand about this game. And PlayStation Pete with a $10 super chat says, so how was I able to buy the 30th anniversary PS5 Pro? I used my inheritance money I got when my parents passed away. I would rather have my parents instead of the money and console. That's very sad to hear, PlayStation Pete. Yeah, I mean, bro, if you could trade that console and get your parents back, I think anybody would do that, right? I mean, it would have been awkward if you said the opposite. I'm not sure how I would have responded to that, you know? Like, I'm just sitting here wondering if somebody would say, no, I'm going to keep my console. I don't, that's okay. Parents, I don't need you back. That would be quite depressing. But no, I think that's absolutely the right mentality to have, PlayStation Pete. But I mean, hopefully it does bring you, some joy though, right? Maybe not the most ideal circumstances, but being able to secure that 30th anniversary Pro, I know it means a lot to you, man. So I do hope it brings you some joy for sure. And I've been playing my PS5 Pro and I've been enjoying it. So look forward to it, man. And, I will say what's interesting as well, PlayStation Pete. Today's November 14th. And specifically this year, it's been 10 years since my father passed away. So, yeah, this is that 10-year mark. Pretty crazy, man. Don't know where the time goes, but appreciate the time, right? Appreciate the time you have because you just don't know. You just don't know. So, PlayStation Pete, thank you so much for the super chat, bud. And you'll definitely have to let me know when that PS5 Pro comes in, how it is, if it's everything you hoped it would be. But we will dive into this topic regarding Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann. So before I give you the information, just to kind of set the stage here, Naughty Dog has been MIA pretty much this entire generation. Now, their last new game release was The Last of Us Part 2 in 2020, specifically, I believe, June of 2020. And since then, the only thing we have received from Naughty Dog are remasters and remakes in the form of the Uncharted collection for PS5, featuring Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy, and PC as well. And then after that, we got The Last of Us Part 1, which was a full remake of The Last of Us for PS5, which was a bit controversial. And then finally, we got this year, in January, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, which shipped with a little bit of new content. The no return mode, I believe is what it was called. But as we know, Naughty Dog had spent the last 3 to 4 years developing a full-blown AAA live service Last of Us online game. And it ended up getting canceled abruptly last year. And when Naughty Dog said why they canceled it, they said it was because they don't want to have to commit to supporting a live service game for many years to come because it would jeopardize their ability to make the type of single-player games that they like to make. But in revealing why they canceled this Last of Us multiplayer game, they also revealed that they have multiple new games in development. Single-player games at that. They did emphasize multiple new single-player games, but that's all they said. They didn't reveal any more than that. And so the big question, the reason why I'm prefacing this and what makes it so important, the big question is, okay, well, if you guys just spent the last 3 to 4 years making a live service Last of Us game, a AAA live service Last of Us game, and remastering and remaking a bunch of other games just for that live service game to get canceled, and now you're saying you have multiple new games in development, specifically single-player games, this must mean that you just started development on these new games, right? And so because of that, we're probably not going to see any of these games until the PlayStation 6. Very understandable that people would assume this. However, today, Neil Druckmann confirms that that's not the case, and that we may, and I know it sounds sad to say it this way, but just because so many people are convinced we won't, we may end up seeing a brand new Naughty Dog game before the end of this generation. Rejoice. Maybe. And I'll tell you what he said in just a moment. Rich Rod, instead of the direct donation, chooses to do a super chat, and he says, Cyborg, Colt, and Kojima, all blank sucka butterscotches. Rich Rod, thank you so much for your input. Once again, every day that fire rages, and there's just no stopping it. So thank you once again, Rich Rod. At this point, it's basically part of the routine during the stream. I have a whole segment, Rich Rod's Butterscotch Super Chats and or direct donations. At least he's consistent. There you go. There you go. He has that consistency. But let's go over the new information here. So on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, I came across this post 3 hours ago. Neil Druckmann says his current project has been in the works since 2020. While Sony doesn't let him control how he's going to announce it, they do give him full control over the game itself. And it links to a recent online panel that was on YouTube with Ken Levine. And according to this post, the live stream panel was actually set to private. And I think it was set to private because maybe Neil said something he wasn't supposed to say, or maybe there was something else in this stream or this live stream panel that was said that wasn't supposed to be said. But the thumbnail, you could still at least view the thumbnail to prove that this was a thing. And so I think this may have been privated because of what Neil Druckmann said, but this is honestly kind of critical information to learn about Naughty Dog's next game, because it answers one of the most important questions, and that is, can we expect to see a new Naughty Dog game this generation for the PlayStation 5, or because of the mismanagement with the Last of Us multiplayer game, is this something that at best we can hope for maybe within the first 2 or 3 years of the PlayStation 6? And with Neil Druckmann confirming that our new game, and yes, it is a new intellectual property, I will explain why we can infer that, this new IP from Naughty Dog is already nearly 5 years in development, which means it will be launching this generation. Now, it might not be launching in 2025, but it's going to arrive towards the end of this generation. We have a super chat from Who the Hell is Carlos? He says, do you think we will get Neuralink in the in the Death Stranding game? LOL. I don't know. Are you at? So I'm gonna say probably not, Carlos. I'm not sure. I don't know. What is your expectation here? I'm gonna say no. I'm not expecting to see Neuralink in Death Stranding. Maybe we could see something similar to it. Potentially. Some kind of technology that maybe is very similar and is clearly supposed to be that. But if you're talking about it like actually, like, that's what they're going to say. Like, Kojima's going to be like, hey, we put Neuralink in this game. No, I don't think so. Kojima Strandlink. There you go. That's what we'll see. MBG seems like the type to deny the chip in his head. Yes, I don't need I don't need a chip in my head. I'm good. Although, think of what I could accomplish. No. Natural is the way. Although I do somewhat despise humanity. No. I'm still human. All right, getting back to Naughty Dog here. You could play PS5 forever. I could be inside of the PS5, like my mind could be inside of it. Actually, that doesn't sound too good. I don't know if I want that. I could use it to translate what Boss is saying. Okay, now that would be worth it. I'm not gonna lie. If I could make that happen, that'd be worth it. MBG, one of your Twitter/X posts was featured in a Dreamcast guy video. Did you see that? I did not. I already know which post it is, though. That's funny. I'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah, I'll bring that up. That's cool, though. I made it into a video, I guess. Nice. Getting back to Naughty Dog, though. Again, Neil Druckmann confirms that their new game has been in development since 2020. So what this means is we will be getting a Naughty Dog game announcement in the next year and a half or so. I wouldn't expect the announcement this year because it seems, based off of what we've seen, the way Sony wants to announce their first-party games, I mean, it basically looks like, hey, when our game is about a year away, a year and a couple months, give or take, that's when we'll announce it. So because of this, I would expect the new Naughty Dog game announcement to come sometime in 2025. I don't expect it to happen at like the Game Awards. And I don't know that I would expect it to happen early next year. But the reason why we can infer that this new game from Naughty Dog is not The Last of Us Part 3, because I think that is a question that people do have. Well, all right, that's great and all that we won't have to wait till the PlayStation 6 for a new Naughty Dog game, but maybe you're kind of over The Last of Us. Maybe you're wanting something new, but your assumption is that this new game is going to be The Last of Us Part 3. Well, no, that's not what it's going to be. The reason I say this is because Neil Druckmann inadvertently, I would say, confirmed through all of this that it's not going to be The Last of Us Part 3 because it was only just recently, I would say in the last 12 months or so. In the last 12 months, he basically said, look, I finally figured out the story of The Last of Us Part 3. Like, I figured out a way to make, not to make it make sense, but the reason for its existence, right? Like the main theme that he wants to convey in The Last of Us Part 3. So there's no chance that The Last of Us Part 3 has been in development for the last 3.5 to 4 years without without Neil Druckmann knowing this. This is what happens when I read the chat as I'm... He would have had this established in the very beginning. So what this does mean is that it's either one of their past IPs, which it's not going to be. It's not going to be Uncharted. It's not going to be something else that they made in the past. It means this is the new IP that they've been working on. The two games that Naughty Dog has been working on are very likely a new IP and The Last of Us Part 3, with the new IP being the game that's getting the bulk of the work done on it, and most of the focus is on that. And The Last of Us Part 3 being in just very, very, very early kind of very early pre-production phases, just to kind of map out where they're going to go once they finish their new game. And so this is why it's kind of exciting, right? Because I'm definitely open to a new IP from Naughty Dog. I would like to see a new IP from Naughty Dog. I say this as somebody who loves The Last of Us Part 1, doesn't really love The Last of Us Part 2 nearly as much. I'm ready to move on from that and give it a break for a good long while, especially after hearing the sad news that the multiplayer game got canceled. I'm absolutely ready for Naughty Dog to come out and be like, here's our brand new game, brand new characters, brand new gameplay, I mean, it could be anything. That's the beauty of it. It could be anything. It could be something I don't like. It could be a new IP that I'm like, oh, I'm not interested in that at all. But they definitely have my attention, or they will have my attention when they announce this new IP. And I'm very hopeful that it will be something that I do end up liking, because I know that there are a lot of people who no longer like Naughty Dog. There are a lot of people who don't like Neil Druckmann, and I understand all of this. But at the same time, they're still an extremely talented studio. Neil Druckmann is going to be the director of this new game, and I understand why for some people that's just automatically going to be like a no, I'm going to pass on it. But for me, I want to see what it is. If it's something brand new, if it's something totally different. And I want it to be known that it probably will be something very different. The reason I say this is because there's been this kind of implication from Naughty Dog and certain people who work there. There's been this kind of implication, or maybe not people who work there, but people who talk to people who work there, that the developers kind of want to take a little bit of a break. You know, they want to take a little bit of a break from making something so brutal and so grounded and so intense, something a little bit lighter. And so that should give us some idea of what to expect from this new game. MBG, you were part of the hate Neil is receiving with those Last of Us 2 hate videos. I didn't make Last of Us 2 hate videos. I made videos criticizing The Last of Us Part 2. And I specifically went out of my way to tell people not to harass Neil Druckmann, because that's not right. And that's not how we convey a message, right? So, but at the time I was making those videos, there was an immense amount of hate. I mean, pure hatred going towards Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann specifically. So I understand why at that time anybody who was being critical might get kind of lumped in with the hate. I was frustrated. I was frustrated with Neil Druckmann. I did question his motives. I did question why he would go in this direction. I did question what he was truly trying to achieve here. Again, I don't think those things count as hate, but it is what it is, you know? At the very least, I could say now, 4 years later, or nearly 4 years later, I can say that I'm absolutely ready and willing to see something new. And hey, The Last of Us 2 it's water under the bridge at this point, you know? The game came and it went, and they've been working on something completely different this whole time, seemingly. So let's see what they cook up for us. If it's something that doesn't appeal to me and something that makes me kind of go, oh, I don't really like what I'm seeing here, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I will be disappointed, and I will express my disappointment, but I'll just have to simply walk away saying, I guess this isn't going to be for me. But I remain optimistic. But that is what I wanted to talk to you guys about when it comes to Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann and this new information. Again, where this new information came from, the video has been made private. But this is what Neil Druckmann said, and it will be interesting to see if we get further circulation of this information, because I have no doubt the reason why this video was privated was because Neil Druckmann was not necessarily meant to talk about it. I do want to analyze one more thing. That was said by Neil Druckmann, by the way, before we move on. I almost forgot. And Josh Z with a $5 super chat says, the irony of people hating a game about hate. Yeah, it is quite ironic. Hating a game about hate. I hate this game about hate. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Josh. I feel like people have calmed down quite a bit on The Last of Us in recent years, though. Specifically, The Last of Us Part 2. Meanwhile, Bite in the chat is saying, Abby is hot. I don't care what you all think. Bro. I mean, I don't. That's cool, man. Like, that's fine. I don't think that's what anybody was talking about, but I replayed The Last of Us 2 in January, and my general feelings towards it were still mostly the same, where I just didn't enjoy the story of The Last of Us Part 2 that much. But I will say that it was, I don't know, it didn't, I guess, bother me as much. I was able to enjoy the actual gameplay of The Last of Us Part 2 this time around when I replayed it, the remastered version, because I already knew everything that happened. I wasn't like focused in on the story and the insanity of that story and what's going on. And so because of that, I was able to just kind of lean into enjoying the gameplay a little bit more, especially with that not left behind, the no return mode. And it just made me even sadder, come to think of it, that The Last of Us multiplayer got canceled. Lone Wolf Gamer with a $5 super chat says, MBG, I just found out today that both my toilet and cat's litter boxes are actually Xboxes. I learn something new every day. Yep. The trash can is too. You got a trash bin outside where you put all your trash bags. That's probably an Xbox too. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, Lone Wolf Gamer. You know, people think you're being overly harsh, but a cat's litter box was actually featured in the marketing material of the new Xbox campaign. My chair is an Xbox. So before I move on, thank you, Lone Wolf Gamer, by the way. Before I move on from this Naughty Dog topic, there's one other thing I want to analyze here. Neil Druckmann says that Sony does not let him control when the game gets announced and when it gets revealed. But Sony does let him control. They do give him full control over the game. What is that noise? There's a noise coming from outside of my window. I'm trying. Oh, you know what? Okay, never mind. I just figured it out. Isn't that a good thing? Well, see, this is why I wanted to analyze this for a moment, because I have seen some people reacting to this. Some people are viewing it as a bad thing that Sony doesn't let Naughty Dog reveal their own game when they want to reveal it. But ultimately, it probably isn't viewed internally as a bad thing. Like, I do understand that it comes off as controlling because that's what it is. Sony is telling Naughty Dog, we're going to decide when your game gets revealed, just like we're going to decide when it gets released. Right? But if you watch the documentary for The Last of Us Part 2, something that was made very clear is that Naughty Dog struggled every time they had to, and this is probably true for all AAA game studios, every time E3 rolled around and they had to create a vertical slice and show new gameplay, they had to stop everything they were doing development-wise and focus just on that. And it kind of derailed everything, or at the very least, it was something that, created excess stress for the team. And so This is something that we've heard before previously in regards to E3 and live demos and vertical slices. So what I'm trying to say is I highly doubt Naughty Dog feels bad or annoyed or bothered by the fact that Sony is basically telling them we want to decide when we reveal your game, because what that seemingly has turned into is you just focus on making the game. And when it's, you know, when we're ready, when we're thinking about revealing it, we'll kind of knock on your door and see where you're at. That's probably a lot better, honestly, than every year Sony's got to knock at the door and say, "Do you have our vertical slice ready?" And also the fact that Sony owns the studio, right? I think that this is important to understand. Um, Sony, they did things pretty much the opposite last generation, right? Where they were like, we're going to reveal our games like 5 years in advance, 4 years in advance. Is that cool? And in the moment, it's cool. It's like, hell yeah. 2016, Last of Us Part 2 revealed. 2017, Ghost of Tsushima revealed, right? And these games are like multiple years away. And so for the next 2 or 3 years, we get to look forward to getting a new trailer, some new gameplay. And I'll be honest, that was awesome. But I did not realize, and I think a lot of people didn't realize, how much of a toll that would take on the teams. Of like every year, they got to like, all right, well, we got to stop what we're doing. We got to go show more, right? To whereas, imagine for the first 5 years of development, we just don't show anything. We just go in, not into hiding, but we just burrow down, put our noses to the grindstone, and when it's done, we'll come show it. I don't see that as a bad thing. And I think I didn't get to listen to this clip myself, and so I don't know how Neil Druckmann sounded. I don't know if he sounded annoyed or bothered, but believe me when I tell you, the only thing that matters to Neil Druckmann is that he has full control over the game itself, right? Like Sony's not coming in and saying, no, Neil, you can't do this, or we'd rather you do this instead. They're giving him creative freedom. How some people are going to feel about that remains to be seen. How like the wider, market feels about that. But the point here is that it does make sense that Sony, they own these teams. Sony wants to be the one to decide when they're going to reveal some of these games. And I think the strategy behind that is we only want to reveal these games when they're very close to release. And I don't think any development team is going to have a problem with that. I think specifically it might be a bit of a problem for Naughty Dog because Naughty Dog is in an awkward position. I'm sure the developers at Naughty Dog, as well as Neil Druckmann, they absolutely see the things that people are saying about the team and about the studio, where it's like, yeah, they're mid now, or they're not going to be releasing anything this generation. They're just the king of remakes and remasters. And basically their reputation has taken some damage. And, it would kind of be understandable that if you're working at Naughty Dog and you're working on this big new intellectual property and it's awesome and it's like totally different and it's going to, like, people are going to be psyched about it. Like, it's going to win people over, but you can't say anything about it. You can't reveal anything, and you just have to constantly deal with seeing what people have to say about your studio. I do understand how that could maybe be a little bit frustrating, where it's like, man, if I could just show you right now, like I would, you just being able to kind of quiet everybody up, or quiet everybody down, I should say, and shut everybody up and be like, yeah, this is what we're making. And people be like, whoa, oh, okay, all right, my bad, I didn't know. But they can't do that. And so yeah, anytime Naughty Dog is brought up right now, I mean, even with this topic, I saw some people making a joke, like, are they, what's their new game, a new remaster? And that's what I mean, where it's like, yeah, they need to change that perception. And the only way they change that perception is by revealing this new game and showing it. But that's going to be under Sony's time. So But at the end of the day, if Naughty Dog believes in what they're making and they do believe people are going to like it, then it'll speak for itself and it will change the tune and it will change the perception. So that's the end of topic number 1. And I thought it was important to go over with you guys because I'll be honest, I was starting to think, yeah, maybe we're not going to see another Naughty Dog game revealed until the PlayStation 6, which would have been very depressing. But luckily, the new game, which is the one I'm going to be more interested in, is probably going to be revealed in the next year or so. Capono, you're saying, I just hope you like what they show. I hope so too, man. I hope so too. All right. So, guys, we are going to move on to topic number 2. But before we do, I want to ask you to please hit that like button. We're sitting at 138 likes. Let's see if we can bump that up to 150, maybe even shoot for 175. It definitely helps the streams. Now, the second topic, well, this is a side topic. This is not a main topic, but I just want to inform everybody that Microsoft has a new marketing campaign. And I was informed earlier that apparently my tweet was featured in some kind of video, but this new marketing campaign from Microsoft is an interesting one. It is Microsoft's "This is an Xbox" campaign. And this campaign basically is Microsoft telling you that this device you are looking at, that is not an Xbox video game console, is in fact an Xbox. This is the point of this marketing campaign. So, for example, the main image that they posted on the Xbox Wire Twitter account is of an Xbox console to the right, a Steam Deck in the middle, a laptop to the left, a smartphone to the far left, and a TV in the center. And it just simply says, this is an Xbox. So your TV, that's an Xbox. Your smartphone, that too is an Xbox. Your computer, that's an Xbox. Your cat litter, that's an Xbox. No, I'm just kidding. But the reason why I mentioned the cat litter was because they have another image where they show a cat in a litter box, and it says, this is a cat box. And then next to it is a TV, and it says, this is an Xbox that goes on the wall. Then they show the Amazon Fire Stick, and they say, this is an Xbox on the inside. They show a smartphone, and they say, this is an Xbox that makes calls. And they do have the Xbox at the top, and it just simply says, this is an Xbox. So it's a pretty, it's a marketing campaign that actually does make a lot of sense for Microsoft. I mean, this is something we've been seeing. Really quick, shout out to Otacon HE for becoming a channel member. Joining greatness awaits. Otacon, thank you so much for that, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good stuff, man. And that does count towards the member counter there. They forgot the PlayStation screen, LOL. I mean, that's kind of the irony, and that's what a lot of people are kind of bringing up. They're putting up pictures of a PlayStation 5 and saying, so is this an Xbox too? And listen, obviously, Microsoft is not going to put the PlayStation console in their marketing and say, this is an Xbox. I don't even think legally they could do that if they wanted to. But yes, to Microsoft, that is an Xbox, ironically enough. What's funny about this, though, is Jeff Keighley posted about this. And interestingly enough, his tweet, Jeff Keighley's tweet, has garnered the most attraction with almost 600,000 views just 2 hours ago. And I didn't realize when I posted this tweet in response, I did not realize his tweet was also going to blow up. And I was basically making a joke, but it's the internet, And so the internet takes things very seriously, maybe even too seriously. And the internet does not realize that it was not meant to be taken seriously, but it's still funny. In fact, maybe it makes it even funnier. I said, if you just label everything an Xbox, then that means there are more Xboxes than PlayStations and Switches, which means Xbox is actually in first place. Microsoft logic. And man, there are some Xbox players that are very upset with me. They are very upset that I said that. They are very upset that I said that underneath a post from Jeff Keighley that is going to go on to probably get 1 million+ views. And it's kind of funny because it's like, guys, it's not serious, Like, how could this be taken seriously? But I think what is funny about it is the fact that some people are like, yeah, dude, that's how they're actually going to see it. And Capono5150 comes in and drops another membership gift. He drops a single. Capono, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good stuff, man. Thank you for adding to the member counter. And I will take this opportunity to just let everybody know that keep in mind, you can always drop a single membership gift as well. And they do help, they do contribute, and they are very much appreciated. So, Capono, thank you for that. But yeah, this is the new marketing campaign. And if you're curious, by the way, what are some Xbox fans saying? What are some Xbox fans saying in response to your cheeky post? Somebody says, it's always funny you claim to be neutral and refrain from console warring. So somebody took this as a real, dead serious console war situation. Guys, this is serious. Somebody else is basically calling me a moron because they think I seem to not understand that Microsoft is focused on the ecosystem. They are focused on the ecosystem, and the console sales are not really the most important thing anymore. So they're not looking at it as first, second, or third place. And it's like, wow, man. I had no idea. This is news to me. It's just funny to me because I honestly do tend to forget that quite a few people who follow me on Twitter do not follow me on YouTube. And I do not really talk about a lot of this stuff on Twitter. So I guess I could kind of understand why some people are like totally unaware that we talk about this frequently. I guess I kind of understand that some people might take a tweet like that very serious. But yes, it's obvious. This is Microsoft's new play. Their new play is to downplay the importance of the console itself by basically making it clear, like, you don't need an Xbox to have an Xbox. And this is nothing new. Microsoft has been doing this literally for years, and it further illustrates and reaffirms the difference, the fundamental difference that I spoke of the other day between Sony and Microsoft. Microsoft's end goal is to convince everybody that console sales no longer matter. Why would they do this? Well, it's what you would do too if you were in their situation. If you are in the console market and your console sales are tanking and dying, then the next best thing you could try to do is convince everybody around you that it doesn't matter. It's not important. We almost as if it's intentional, right? That's how these companies operate, and that's exactly what Microsoft is doing. The reality is, Microsoft is doing this. My Microsoft needs to tell you that your laptop is an Xbox, that your phone is an Xbox, that your Fire Stick is an Xbox. They need to do this because people are not going and buying Xboxes. You will not come to us for our Xbox console, so we won't just bring the Xbox console to you. We will turn whatever device you are using into that console. And that's what makes my joke so funny, is that, yeah, at what point does Microsoft start counting these devices as Xbox units? But I'm not here to say whether it's good or bad, right or wrong, because it's none of those things. And there is no winning or losing, I guess you could say, because the battle is already lost. Microsoft lost the console battle, so they've moved on from it. Now it's just a part of their ecosystem. Now they're trying to win the ecosystem battle. I don't know that they're going to win that either, though, because I think what people fail to understand is that while Microsoft is carving out this ecosystem-based success, they're also doing so while being more and more of a third-party publisher. So could they succeed in both areas? Yeah, it's possible, but the deeper they go into third-party publishing, the less likely it is they're going to succeed at having one of the most successful ecosystems out there. But they still do have millions of players in those ecosystems. And I understand that the popular thing to do if you're console warring is to just completely downplay anything the other side is doing. Like, oh, look at Sony's PS5 sales. It doesn't matter. They suck. Nobody cares about console. It's like, well, you're factually wrong. You just can't admit what is true. But I can admit what is true. And what is true is that Xbox still has millions upon millions of people who are, to some extent, invested in their ecosystem. And that's not something Microsoft should burn down or throw away. You'd have to be an idiot to do something like that when you're talking about having tens of millions of people, that are invested in some way. So it seems to me like what Microsoft's end goal here is, and when I read this new marketing campaign, it seems to me what their end goal is trying to extract the level of profitability and success that a major third-party publisher would and does. That's what we see from major third-party publishers, while simultaneously trying to make it clear to anybody who is invested in the Xbox ecosystem that we have not abandoned it. We've just expanded it. And it is interesting to think that a PlayStation 5 console would fit perfectly in this image. A Nintendo Switch console would fit perfectly in this image. And I bet you if Microsoft was allowed to do it, they would. And that tells you all you need to know. We're not going to actively try to push away. We're not going to rip the ecosystem away from the people who invested in it. And we can still try to do something with it, but that is not our priority. That is not where growth lies. Now, the reason why I brought this up, and I thought it was worth mentioning, is because the next topic we're going to talk about, I think this kind of feeds right into it, where Phil Spencer takes a not so subtle jab at the PlayStation 5 Pro and at Sony's apparent strategy. Rich Rod says Xbox gamers are stupid. I don't even know what that second word is there, but it looks like something. It looks like some kind of. I genuinely don't. I don't know what word that is, but maybe it's for the best. He says Xbox gamers are stupid, aka STFU wanksters. Rich Rod, I thought you liked Xbox, bro. This is coming out of left field. Disgusting. Okay, I see it now. I see it. Man, you're calling them disgusting. That's Rich Rod's the real console warrior here, man. All right, don't come at me. I didn't say that. I mean, I read it. I read what he said. Thank you, Rich Rod. Thank you for the super chat. I don't think Xbox players are stupid. I want to make that clear. I don't think Xbox gamers are stupid, Rich Rod. I do think there are Xbox fanboys that don't actually really care too much about enjoying or playing video games, but they prefer to enjoy themselves inside of the cesspool that is Twitter and these fanboy circles. And I think they are stupid. Yes, they are very stupid. They're stupid to a degree where it's like, don't ever engage, because as soon as you engage, now you're stupid. And when somebody's looking at both of you arguing, they're not going to be able to tell which one's supposed to not be stupid. You see what I'm saying? Just don't do it. Don't engage. It's like the saying goes, you know? Be careful when choosing to argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. Anyway, the next topic we are discussing is about Xbox and Microsoft gaming CEO Phil Spencer taking a jab at the PlayStation 5 Pro. We mentioned this one time yesterday, but it's worth kind of diving into a little bit deeper here, especially now that we're seeing this new marketing campaign from Microsoft. All right, let me bring it up. Microsoft gaming CEO gives subtle dig at PS5 Pro price. We're not growing the market with $1,000 consoles. We're not growing the console market at all. No. Should have been. That's what he should have said. That's what he should have said. I'm going to be honest. Microsoft gaming CEO Phil Spencer was featured in several interviews this week. Firstly, he joined Fallout TV creator Jonathan Nolan on a panel at the Paley International Council Summit. During the conversation, the head of the Microsoft gaming division said not having a new Fallout game ready for the show's launch was actually beneficial. The executive then stopped by Bloomberg's New York City office for another interview. As reported yesterday, he revealed there's effectively no limit to porting Xbox games to other consoles following the launches of Pentiment, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush, and the announcement of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. He also confirmed that the PS5 is an Xbox. I'm just kidding, it doesn't say that. He also confirmed the existence of an Xbox handheld, which, however, will take years to complete, and suggested more acquisitions might be possible, especially if it's an Asian developer. Man, oh man, I completely missed this yesterday, but Phil Spencer actually said, hey, if it's an Asian developer, we are open to acquisition. Didn't you just shutter Tango Gameworks? You know, your only Asian development team? Didn't you just shut them down? I mean, you can't make this shit up, dude. Anyway, let's proceed. I feel pretty good. Or wait, hold on. It says, in the same Bloomberg interview, Spencer gave a subtle dig at Sony's controversial pricing of the new PS5 Pro console, saying the market will not grow with consoles that cost $1,000. I feel pretty good about where this industry is going. To reach new players, we need to be creative and adaptive of new business models, new devices, new ways to access. We're not going to grow the market with $1,000 consoles. Now, I find this very interesting. Because Phil is trying to take the angle that many, many people are taking, which is PS5 Pro bad. PS5 Pro bad. And it makes sense for him to do so. But I find it ironic that he does so by saying we're not going to grow the market that way. I'm sorry, Phil. How exactly are you growing the market? I mean, I'm serious. How are you growing the market? Well, I guess his answer probably is we are giving people access through a Fire Stick. We're giving people access through Game Pass. It's like, that's fair. That's fair. Sure. That is some growth, I guess. That is a way to grow. But you sure it has nothing to do with the Activision Blizzard acquisition? You see, this is the problem with the way Microsoft operates and why people don't like Phil Spencer, because Phil has always tried to come off as the type of individual that really gets it, you know? He really gets it. But when push comes to shove and the corporate executive version of Phil needs to operate and, you know, do his job that he's being paid to do, he will do it, which is fine. That's your job. You're doing your job. But he still continually does these interviews and attempts to save face and attempts to just pretend that, like, we don't know by now. Like, bro, we get it, man. Like, you push for the Activision Blizzard acquisition. There's mass layoffs that occur afterwards. You shut down, like, somehow, some way it leads to some of Bethesda's studios getting shut down. JD Sanchez with a $5 super chat says, any thoughts on an Xbox handheld? I think it'll be interesting. I'll be very interested to see Microsoft reveal a new Xbox handheld. But I say a new one as if their first Xbox handheld. But what I'm most interested in is knowing what it has to do with their next generation plans. He said that the handheld is a couple years away. So presumably next generation for Xbox is a couple years away as well. Almost seemingly hinting that it might be involved. It might be involved there. But him saying we're not going to grow the market by selling $1,000 consoles, I mean, let's face it, man. You're also not growing the market by selling a $300 console. I get it. I get it. People want to believe that if Sony sells a $700 PS5 Pro, that it's going to fail and people don't want it. Well, I have a surprise for you. We got the first sales data of the PS5 Pro, official sales data, not Sony saying pre-orders are better than the PS4 Pro. No, official sales data. And you want to know what that sales data says? It's from Japan, a territory where PlayStation has, in recent years, been kind of struggling. The PS5 Pro is selling 23% better in Japan at launch than the PS4 Pro, but that's not the shocking part. The shocking part is that in Japan, that's the most expensive place for the PS5 Pro. That is the most expensive place for the PS5 Pro, and it's selling better than the PS4 Pro by nearly 25%. So that's just one piece of data from one market. A market where the console is the most expensive. Now imagine what's going on in markets where PlayStation's actually much more successful. Yeah, don't let the haters hear that. But see, that's the irony in Phil Spencer's comments. That's the irony in Phil Spencer's comments is that, like, bro, I get it. You're not going to grow the market with a $1,000 console, but you're also, you proved you couldn't grow the market with a $300 console either. Microsoft is trying to convince everybody that the only way we grow the market is by doing this. So therefore, everybody else needs to do this too. And listen, it may end up being that way. I get it. But it's just another, I would say, half-hearted attempt at trying to convince everybody that the Microsoft strategy is the de facto strategy. And it's like, bro, you guys tried to sell a $300 console. Nobody wanted it. Well, not nobody wanted it, but it definitely wasn't as successful as you thought it would be. It's proven to be a bit of a thorn in your side this generation, actually. You tried to push Game Pass. The growth wasn't there. then you had no choice but to say, well, we got to buy multiple publishers now. But, you know. All right. We have another direct donation from Rich Rod. He says, thou shalt not be called stupid when being stupid. Thou shalt not be labeled an Xbox gamer when evidently clear they are extremely stupid. Man, Rich Rod, you are. I feel like Rich Rod, you're getting out of pocket, man. He's getting out of pocket with this. Lex, I already talked about the Naughty Dog topic. You might have to come back and rewatch the first part of the stream. It was the first topic we discussed. But listen, I think Xbox's strategy is fine. This isn't a matter of winning or losing, like I said. This is a matter of growth, and that's all it boils down to. And I do hope that if there's anybody out there that does clip anything I just said, please include this, because this is an important follow-up. It's not a matter of winning or losing. Sony is not losing by making a $700 PS5 Pro. Microsoft wouldn't lose if they decided to sell a $1,000 Xbox. Microsoft is not losing by choosing to put their ecosystem on other devices that allow it and find ways to expand to other markets. However, what needs to be understood is that as long as Microsoft, as long as Sony and Microsoft are both producing, manufacturing and selling consoles, there's no way Microsoft can get out of facing the truth. And this is where I've seen the strangest behavior from the core Xbox fan base. Like the fanboys. Don't go over there. The fanboys on the internet. Where suddenly they have no desire for a mid-gen refresh. Suddenly they're actually praising Microsoft. They're more excited at finding out that Microsoft is advertising a Fire Stick version of Xbox than they are at the thought of getting a mid-gen refresh. And they throw the stones at the PS5 Pro, and they throw the stones at Sony. Sony's the one that's completely out of touch. Not only are they completely out of touch, but they're just foolish, right? They're foolish. They don't know what they're doing. Microsoft's playing chess. Sony's playing checkers. Meanwhile, you look at Sony's earnings, and it's just like, actually, if we're comparing gaming, Sony didn't have to buy Activision Blizzard to see growth. Actually, Sony lost a lot of money on their bad acquisitions and still saw growth. Meanwhile, the only reason Xbox, and I'm talking about Xbox, not Microsoft, the only reason Xbox is seeing growth is specifically because of their acquisition, which is fine. I'm not here to say that that's an invalid way to grow, but this is why I'm saying the removal of competition has been enacted by Microsoft, not Sony, not Nintendo. The downplaying of competition has been enacted by Microsoft, not Sony, not Nintendo. And the continued, I guess you could say, convincing that comes from Microsoft that this is where everything is headed. People need to understand that this is coming from the company that lost against Sony and Nintendo and had no choice but to buy publishers to remain relevant. That's all. That's all. I'm just trying to keep the facts straight with all of this. And Hellbound 1981, the legend, The legend comes in. He drops 5 more membership gifts for you guys. Hellbound, thank you so much for that, man. That brings us up to 7 members on the day, which I will update. Guys, you got to help out Hellbound here, man. I know he wants to feed the beast. He wants to feed the beast. Who's going to help him? Who's going to help him? Look, oh, man, look at him. Look at him. Figuratively Literal member for 12 months says, didn't Xbox just release a $600 console? That's not much less than $700 and is basically the same as the standard Series X, if I recall correctly. Yes, they did. But that doesn't matter, right? That doesn't matter. Because why would it when it's sitting next to a $700 PS5 Pro that is actually offering new stuff? New performance, I mean. Better performance. New modes. Perfect Image, you're saying he's right, but he can't do what the PS5 Pro could do. Well, I think where the disingenuous nature from Phil Spencer kind of reveals itself is, and yes, that's correct. You are pricing people out at that point. But I guess what I'm trying to say, the disingenuous nature here from Phil is revealed by making it seem like you can only price a new console at $1,000. You don't have to do that. You definitely don't have to do that. Actually, if you really want to bring it down to a level that I think is kind of ironic, and this is the irony, and it's also kind of unfortunate because you realize that Microsoft, they really did bet against the console. I want you to think about this for just a moment. Here's a thought experiment. Microsoft takes $70 billion. $70 billion. I mean, try as best you can to comprehend how much money that is. $70 billion. It's difficult. It is. It's difficult to comprehend. I mean, we say these numbers, but it's actually difficult to comprehend just how much money that really is. $70 billion. What Microsoft could have done as an option, an alternative option, imagine in a different universe somewhere, an alternate universe, they made this decision. They said, you know what? The PS4 wrecked us. We lost. We lost bad. And no comeback was made. We could continue to push Game Pass, even though the growth isn't there. Continue to invest money in Game Pass. Continue to court games into Game Pass. And continue to push the value through our subscription. Through our subscription. We could do that. And we could reinforce that by buying publishers like Bethesda and Activision Blizzard. You know what? Let's just take, I'm not even going to count Bethesda. $7.5 billion spent compared to 70, not comparable. That's like $7.5 billion at that point is like chump change, you know, which is crazy to think. What Microsoft could have done, and make no mistake, they could have done this, is rather than make the investment into Activision Blizzard and spend $70 billion on that, they could have basically, they could have sold the Xbox Series X at a loss, at a major loss, an unbeatable price. Now, you want to talk about what would have killed Sony? That would have killed Sony. I'm kind of glad Microsoft didn't go down this route because I don't think Sony would have. You would have talked about something Sony wouldn't have been able to recover from. It would have been this. They could have literally priced the Series X at like $250. Even $300. So while the PS5 is sitting there, less powerful at $500, Microsoft could have given every console gamer, just every gamer, not even console gamer. You're talking. I mean, at that point, you're talking about reaching prices so low that it would appeal to the masses. Hardware that powerful, but that cheap? How is this even possible? And Microsoft would have said it's because it's about the investment. It's about the investment. We are willing to eat a massive cost on every Series X sold, even at volume, because once we get you in, you're in the ecosystem. And here's the important part. Microsoft could have convinced people to leave their digital libraries behind if they had done that. They could have, I'm telling you, imagine a scenario where the Series X comes in at $250 and the PS5's $500 or even $300. But I'm going to say $250. Xbox would have smashed PlayStation, fucking destroyed them. And you know what? It wouldn't have cost anywhere near $70 billion to do that. That's the fucking crazy part. That's the fucking crazy part. So the reason why I'm doing this thought experiment is to just once again reinforce that, dude, Microsoft does not care about success whatsoever in the console space, which is unfortunate because they are actually, when you look at the amount of money they're throwing around, they could have been number one so easily, dude. So easily. And by the time the PS5 Pro came out, Microsoft could have put out a Pro console of their own or an Elite console and sell it for $500. And it still wouldn't touch $70 billion. And you might be thinking, well, is that really as wise of an investment as investing in all of these studios and all of these games and all of this talent? Well, let's think about it. You still would have had Bethesda. You still would have had all of Xbox's core internal studios. You would still have this stuff. But you'd also be murdering Sony in the console space. And I'm telling you, Microsoft would be number one. They would win the most market share with an Xbox that cheap. But for some reason, they truly believe that, no, dude, people don't want hardware in the future. They want sub-services. And maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. But man, it's just very interesting to think what could have been with that type of money being thrown around. We have Nero coming in. Nero comes in and drops a 10 bomb on you guys. 10 more memberships gifted by our good friend Nero here. He's been showing more support lately, trying to gift out some more memberships. So Nero, thank you so much for that, dude. I'll give you a...
It's dangerous to rely on teraflops as an absolute indicator of performance.
I'll give you a Mark Cerny for that one, Nero. And so we are now at 17 members. So guys, we're getting there. All right? We're getting there. We'll see if we can hit that 25 goal. We're a lot closer now. And see if we can end up feeding the beast. Rich Rod, I'll read your direct donation in a moment. I have a couple of chats here. The problem is I would still get bored of having no games eventually. Well, that's why I said like they would still have Bethesda. And look, I'm not saying it would have immediately solved all their problems, but it's like what I was trying to say is like in the philosophy behind it is the same as Game Pass, where think about how cheap Game Pass is, right? Like we just want to get you in the door. We just want to get you in the door. I feel like considering Microsoft spent like 2 decades trying to do that with hardware, it would have made more sense to do it with hardware because at some point, Microsoft's got to realize, like, bro, Game Pass is never going to go on PlayStation. PlayStation's never going to ease up on you guys. You know? And they're also going to continue to try to grow in their own way. I just feel like Microsoft took an approach that it's not that it doesn't make sense. It does make sense. But it's just, I feel like it was a true hard left turn away from maybe something else that could have made even more sense. I don't know. I just wonder how Microsoft would be operating right now if they had managed. Like, imagine the PS5 is sitting at like 65 million units sold right now, but Xbox was at like 85, dude. And the reason it was at 85 is because they're like literally practically giving them out. They're like, we don't care about losing the money. It's a long-term investment. Because they did that with ABK. Think about it. Like, well, maybe it's easier to convince somebody to subscribe to Game Pass for Call of Duty than it is to have them shell out $250 for a console. I mean, yeah, but the thing about that is they also need you to stay on Game Pass for it to work. So we need to get you in the door by enticing you with Call of Duty and Game Pass or other, our first party games in Game Pass. But you need to now pay $20 every month. Like, don't leave. To whereas if you sell your console at such a loss, the idea is still, like, the fundamental idea is still the same, where it's like, we need you to stay on our console, and now please start buying games and start subscribing and start buying the accessories, and please keep engaged. Keep staying engaged with our console. But I feel like that's the difference right there, man, is people who subscribe to services are not sticky. They are the opposite of sticky. People subscribe and then they unsub and they're like, I'm done. Cancel. I'm out. When you buy a piece of hardware and the ecosystem is attached to that hardware, you could call it sunk cost fallacy, but yeah, it's this psychological aspect of it where it's like you feel like you made at least some investment here and you don't want it to just sit there and do nothing. You can't just hit cancel and suddenly your console's gone and that's it. No, it's still going to be there. So you may as well use it. Right? And especially think about how much that would drive people as well, where it's like, man, I got this thing for a fucking steal. I got what is valued as a $500 console for half that price. That would actually encourage people to want to use it more. I don't know, man. The executives at Microsoft are like, are you out of your mind? Anyway, all right. Isaac Adrian, sorry to keep you waiting, buddy. $5 super chat says, hey, MBG, or hey, how have you been, MBG? It's been a minute. I've been good. I had a heart attack, almost died, but I'm good. So I hope Sony does something, LOL. I don't know if I'll see it. My God, Isaac Adrian, I'm so sorry to hear that. That took such a crazy turn. Hey, man, I'm good. I had a heart attack and almost died, but I'm good. Well, you know what, Isaac? I'm happy that you're good now, man. Hopefully you'll stay good, stay healthy, take care of yourself. That's very scary. And, yeah, come on, Sony. For Isaac here, bro. Sony, you got to do something soon. This man's living in fear. He's not going to be able to see the next great thing from PlayStation. Well, take care of yourself, Isaac. And thank you so much for stopping by and dropping a super chat, man. Sorry to hear that happen to you. Waylark, you're saying being able to spend that amount of money is a show of how successful Microsoft is as a company, that they can bail out struggling divisions like Xbox through the success of their other divisions. You're absolutely right, Waylark. And that's why, at the end of the day, the broader leadership at Microsoft wins out over Phil, because they're like, yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, Phil. Like, we know how to succeed in other areas, and we're gonna implement those strategies into the gaming sector, and we're gonna win. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but that's where, like, people have kind of joked around that Phil seems almost like upset or annoyed that, like, not annoyed or upset, but people have made the claim that Phil is basically the only one at Team Xbox, like, trying to still hang on in any way, shape, or form and convince Microsoft that, like, it's still worth investing in the console. It's still worth, like, we don't want to just nuke it, like we don't want to go full scorched earth. And that's why I do feel like maybe Phil does kind of get it to a degree, but that's, he's also the CEO of gaming at Microsoft. If the board is telling him, no, Phil, no, he's not going to go against that or he'll get fired and replaced, so he has no choice but to just, kind of also be all in on, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, your Fire Stick is an Xbox too. Yep. Novins, you're saying that wouldn't have worked. Samsung could sell their brand new phones for $600 and it wouldn't get iPhone users to switch over. People will pay. I mean, you're right. You're right. But here's where I'll push back just a little bit, Novinser. I think that when we look at the start of the rollout of the new consoles, specifically the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, I feel like Microsoft, they had an opportunity there. Like that was their last real opportunity. It's like, yes, there's 117 million people on PS4 and about 50 million people on Xbox. So you're down by like over half. However, and yes, there are digital libraries on PS4 that if people choose to go with Xbox, they would not be able to bring those libraries with them. But that's where it's like, I don't know, man. That was kind of the last moment where it's like, I'm going to hedge a bet here. I'm going to make an assumption, and I'm going to say that most people buying the new console are doing so for the new games. Insert PlayStation, old games joke here, right? But in all seriousness, I think that's why people are going to buy the new console. He's being patient, guys. He's being patient. I think we need, 8 more memberships? 8 more, and we'll feed him. But I think that's important to kind of acknowledge here, because that's where I think, like, if Microsoft came in at an unfathomably, dude, that's all anybody would. Dude, I'll be honest, nobody would even give a shit if there weren't games to play at launch. I mean, think about it for a moment, dude. Think about it. Nobody, like, Microsoft comes out, Xbox Series X, world's most powerful console, $250. It's over. It's over for dude. Sony would die. I mean, they wouldn't die, but you're right. Like, there would still be people who are like, nah, I'm not going with PlayStation. I'm not going with Xbox. I don't care how good that price is. All my games are on PlayStation. You would still have those people, but Microsoft would win the masses, bro. They would win the masses. And that's what's so ironic to me is like, isn't that what they won? I don't think this is the same. I mean, I know people talk about PlayStation like they're Apple, but like they're not, though. Like, they do have that core fan base. Like, my question is, like, how big is that fan base? I don't know, maybe that core fan base that literally will, like, here's a brand new cutting edge next gen Xbox for $100. You know what? Fuck it. It's free. And no, I'm good. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was that bad, dude. I don't know. It didn't. I'll just say it didn't seem that bad to me, bro. People talk about the Xbox One like it sold like the Wii U, and it's like it wasn't that at all. Like, it still sold like 50 million units, give or take, somewhere around there. And I get it. That's not 100 million, and that's not 120 million, but I don't know, dude. I just feel like Microsoft's, if they were, it just seemed like they were unwilling to try to do something drastic to get Xbox back to where I think it could have gotten. And that's why for like years, basically, and even now I'm kind of bringing it up. It's like, why don't you, like, how did Microsoft capture the success that they had with the Xbox 360 and then walk away from it by being like, yeah, we can't do that again. That's impossible. Like, it's not like you're willing to spend $70 billion on a publisher. What do you mean? It's very possible. Like, if you're willing to invest that type of money, it's absolutely possible. But who knows? If I was running Xbox and I did that, maybe I would have killed the brand completely. Probably. But I don't know. I firmly believe that there's an alternate universe somewhere where we're not seeing the marketing that we are for Microsoft right now, where they're not showing me a picture where it's like of a TV and saying this is an Xbox you put on your wall. But instead, it's a Series X and it just got a price cut of $50 and now it's only $200. And they're leading console sales. I don't know. I think that could have worked. I think that could have worked. Yeah, you wouldn't be getting Call of Duty and Game Pass, and so for maybe some people that feels bad to them, and maybe Game Pass wouldn't even exist. But you know, you would have a strong ass ecosystem, dude. A strong, healthy ecosystem that you could feel fucking truly confident investing in. That sure, you may have to buy your games again, right? Or it wouldn't be again. It would be you were buying your games the whole time. You would be operating the same way you were operating every other generation. But you would know that, like, this is, you know, like I can expect cheap hardware and a lot of support. A lot of support. Kyle, say stuff. You're saying, hopefully, Isaac, it went well. It reminds me of my friend Tobias. He passed away of a car accident when we were waiting for GTA 6 and Wolverine together. That's so, man, a lot of sad stories today, man. Kyle, I'm really sorry to hear that, bro. Sorry to hear about your friend Tobias. That is sad. But yeah, I mean, that's why you got to try to make sure you're enjoying something now, right? Enjoy something now because you don't know if you got tomorrow. I mean, don't live in fear though. You know, I'm not. That's not good either. Just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. They sold us a Series S for $150. Nobody bought it. You're correct, but dude, it's because the Series S, like, all right. Let me ask you this. I want to ask you this, Nominzer and Waylark. I'm going to read your super chat. I just want to ask you this question. Replace the Series S with the X, and its price as low as $150. What changes? I think that changes everything. I think I think people are going to be like, wait, what can that console do? For how much? And I think Microsoft really tried to do that with this. Keep in mind, Microsoft got off to a good start this gen. By the way, they did. The Series X and S got off to a decent start. It still wasn't beating PlayStation, but it was like they're okay, like they're selling well out of the gate. And most of their sales were the Series S. But people caught on to the Series S. I think that's the problem. I think Microsoft did try to do that, like, marketing strategy, like next gen for $300. That's right. That's right, baby. We got this compact Xbox console. It is a next gen console. Trust us. It's next gen. $300. Wait until you see what this thing can do. And then we saw the results. It's like, dude, this thing sucks. Like, mostly. Not like completely. Like, some games it can run pretty well, but this doesn't feel, this doesn't seem next gen. And people kind of caught on to that. We're like, this doesn't feel like a next gen console in, like, almost any way. And I think that's kind of really what destroyed the momentum that Xbox had. Is the realization kind of came to people where it's like, oh, wait, hold on. So if I want, like, the better console, it's the same price as the PS5, but Microsoft doesn't have as many games, at least for the first couple of years. And yeah, I don't know. I'm good, right? I think, I don't know. I think back to the reveal of the Xbox Series X when they showed it at the Game Awards, and it was like Hellblade 2, and people were like fucking hyped. And it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe you're right. I will say, maybe I'm completely wrong on this. Maybe you're right, and it wouldn't have made a damn difference in the world. Maybe you're right. Waylark, you're saying, why keep talking about the Xbox console? It's not a priority for them. It's already dead. Sony and Nintendo are console bound. Microsoft just wants all options now. Well, yeah, I mean, it's mainly due to Phil Spencer's comments in this interview, but also their new marketing and how, I feel like we're seeing a truly, you are right, Waylark, to an extent, that, like, I don't know, I guess you can kind of tell when I'm talking about this that there's still this kind of part of me that wishes things went differently, that wishes Microsoft was operating differently, if anything, just because I would like to see them trying to go toe-to-toe with Sony. So there is a part of that. It's kind of like I am in my own denial that, yeah, Microsoft is not that, man. Like they're not going toe-to-toe with Sony. They're doing the opposite, and they have no interest of doing that. So I guess I understand that what I'm saying right now, it's just a hypothetical that can't exist because it's already happened, and this is the way it played out. And so I don't know how to answer that way, Lark. Truthfully, I don't know. I guess if I had to give my best answer or the best guess at why I continue to talk about it, it's because there is, I think, a small part of me that still is kind of clinging to maybe not hope. I don't know if it would be hope, but wants to believe that it's not fully over yet. That like Microsoft does have one more card to play up their sleeve that they just haven't shown yet. And they're not ready to play it yet. And that play is going to come maybe next gen. But yeah, maybe that's very foolish of me and very naive because I don't think there's any coming back from this, dude. I don't think there's any coming back from here's a poster with an Xbox on it, but alongside of it is a litter box and a phone and a Fire Stick and food. There's like food on there for some reason. And basically just trying to tell you that you don't need to buy this console. You don't. It's not anti-consumer. It's definitely not, but it is anti-competition in a way. And it's really, yeah, I don't know. We're seeing like almost a complete removal at this point of Microsoft. It's like the complete removal of them out of the console market where it's just, it is, like, yeah, it's over, man. I don't know. I need the console wars to continue, man. All right. Well, to give a more serious answer, Waylark, it's because I cannot help but continue to pay attention to the strategy that Microsoft is implementing in their gaming division, in their gaming sector, because I am continually subjected, if you want to call it that, I'm subjected to people's opinions, very strong opinions, that they firmly believe Sony will be following Microsoft. That everything we are seeing Microsoft do, Sony will do too. If not today, maybe tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, maybe next year. But it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's why I pay so close attention to it, because I don't know that I believe that. I don't know that when I look at Microsoft's strategy, and I feel like Microsoft, by being so forward-facing in their pro-consumerism, where it's like, we just want everybody to game. We want to bring our stuff to you. In them behaving that way, I don't know that it's as much of a clear path to victory as some people believe it is, because I think that what some people are not keeping in mind is that there, the only path to victory that Microsoft secured was through their own wallet. And that's not how that's supposed to work. The idea is you find your path to, if not victory, just success. You find your path to success by not, by spending as little money as possible, or at least saving as much as you can in the process. And that's not what happened. And so I just don't know that it's as clear cut of a victory as some people believe it is. I don't think that this victory lap, some people are viewing it as a kind of victory lap. And I'm like, I don't know that it's so much that as it's basically like, this is what's necessary now. But I don't know. The duality, right? The duality. We see Microsoft coming out with very clear messaging that you don't need to buy our video game console. during the same time that the PS5 Pro is released for $700. And the results are, at least for the Sony side, as of right now, the Pro is selling well, like really well. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is just the way things will continue. Kareem Ali, you're saying, hi, MBG, did you see Avowed has no physical disc apparently? If so, this is dumb. Why? It's supposed to be a first-party release. I actually did not see that, but I'm not even a little bit surprised. I think Microsoft is just done with physical games. I kind of expected that after what we saw with Hellblade. I'm like, you're going out of your way to not give Hellblade a physical release. I don't know why. That's a game that I think a lot of people, or at least a decent amount of people who bought the game, would have absolutely preferred to buy it physically. I mean, Microsoft, I think they're going to be the first one to just go all digital. They're going to be the first one to go all digital. Maybe they already kind of have. But yeah, I don't know why they're doing it now. I don't know. Maybe they're just doing it now because it's like if they do it now, they can kind of rip the Band-Aid off now, and so nobody's surprised when the next console comes out and they're like, yeah, guys, it's digital only. We're not offering a disc model. It's over. It's been over. Like we've already transitioned to digital. I just don't want to see Sony go down that route, man. The day Sony comes out and they're like, we're not offering a physical version of our first party game, that's gonna be a sad, sad day. It's gonna be a sad day. Novinzer, you're saying Game Pass was $1 free for you. Nobody wanted it. Damn, Novinzer, at this point, yeah, I don't know. Oof. All right, I do have a direct donation, it seems, from Rich Rod. Oh, let me see what Rich Rod's cursed. Rich Rod says choosing to play on Xbox is like crapping your pants, then molding the crap to a soap bar, bathing with it, then putting those pants back on afterwards. Rich Rod, what did I just read? Rich Rod, you're scaring me. You're scaring me. Who even thinks of this? Rich Rod, you're scaring me because you're making... Dude, did you do this, Rich Rod? Do you know somebody who's done this? This is concerning. Rich Rod, I'm concerned for you, man. Oh my God. That's just nasty, man. But knowing Rich Rod, he'll double down on that. Waylark, you're saying somehow if Microsoft makes a ton of money porting games on multiplayer games, I could see Sony's higher-ups taking note and asking, why are we not doing that? Yeah, I mean, well, the thing because, yeah, at the end of the day, it is about making the most amount of money. But the reason why Sony isn't doing that, at least this is my take on it, is because it comes with a associated risk of loss, right? Seeing the executives having the dollar signs in their eyes, obviously, that's a thing. Certainly for investors as well. But I think there is a pretty easy answer to that question. And it's that, well, listen, let's take Death Stranding and Wolverine, and let's just say maybe not Wolverine. Let's take Spider-Man, let's take Death Stranding 2, right? We're going to put these games day one on Xbox, and we're doing so because the higher-ups believe this is going to make us more money, and we're going to try to get them on Switch as well. Switch 2 is going to make us the most amount of money. It's like, oh, well, so that's the upside. Is there any downside? Yeah, people might not buy our consoles. Well, why does that matter? Oh, well, because a console purchase theoretically is way more valuable than just a single game purchase. Well, how? Okay, well, think about it. Imagine if Sony was like, look, we're not going to pressure anybody into buying our console. We're just going to treat it like it's just a totally, absolutely optional thing and really downplay it. And then I want you to imagine it actually works, and then suddenly PS5 sales drop. Like, not to say that people will still buy PS5s and Sony will still make money off it, but suddenly in their next earnings, they're like, yeah, PS5 sales dropped by like double-digit percentage. We're not going to hit our projected goals. And we did make more money on our software, but the amount of money we made on that software is not enough to offset the money we lost by people basically either leaving our ecosystem or opting to not invest in it. And the reason for that is because, well, it's always the sunk cost fallacy. I mean, if you think about it, the whole idea of these ecosystems, it's based on that concept. It's based on the concept of, if you are willing to pay this amount of money, a couple $100, $350, $400, $500, you're willing to pay that money to gain access, then that means you probably have a high interest in continuing to participate. And if you're talking about it under the context of playing video games, well, it's very simple logic. If you spend $500 on a video game machine to gain access to, let's say, Spider-Man 2, there's a really, really high chance that Spider-Man 2 is not the only game you're going to buy in this ecosystem. There's a really high chance you're going to buy a couple more games. And maybe you continue to buy a couple more games consistently every quarter, if not every quarter, every year. And before you know it, maybe you happen to come across PlayStation Plus, because every time you go to play your game, you're entering our ecosystem. And when you enter our ecosystem, we can show you all the other options you have to spend your money in this ecosystem. And it kind of has that snowball effect that is the antithesis of a subscription-based model itself. Or even a publishing model is good too, and a publishing model can make just as much money, but a publishing model, listen, it's also this, right? It's everything I just described. It's a sunk cost fallacy, and the investment, and, believing that if we forego getting 1,000 customers in favor of getting 100 customers because we're pricing a lot of those people out, it's okay, because those 100 customers we got are going to be way more valuable than the 1,000 that we're pricing out. That doesn't necessarily lead to the most amount of growth, but it doesn't mean it can't lead to growth. And the way PlayStation's been operating is proof of that. But the other side of it is this, and this is the important part. This is the important part. PlayStation has an ecosystem and a storefront where I want you to think about this for a moment. I want you to think about every single game. Every game. No matter how big, no matter how small, no matter where it's coming from. Every single game that goes through the PlayStation Store, and every single in-app purchase, whether it be DLC or microtransactions, Sony gets 30%. Sony gets 30% from doing nothing. From doing nothing. Now you combine that with the fact that they're also making their own games. Their own games. saying you mean like Microsoft does. Well, listen, exactly. But the thing is, like, Sony has their own games that they can leverage to boost the numbers, or at least try to. It's like, hey, listen, if you're trying to decide between, do you want to go there to play your games, or do you want to come here? We got our own stuff here too. So it's like, we don't just have the Maddens and the FIFAs and the GTAs, you know? We also got our own stuff. And that might interest you. And Sony gets 100% of that. And this is what's interesting about the closed ecosystem, although it's not as closed as it once was. Microsoft has the ability to achieve that as well, but they just have a completely different means now. And that means is through, well, again, if we use something like Call of Duty, like, so what does Microsoft have to do to extract the 70% rip from every Call of Duty game sold on PlayStation? Well, they had to pay for it, to be clear. Like, I think when we had these conversations, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that they paid for it. Like, they did not just get it. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't build Call of Duty themselves and then sell it. They bought it and then sold it. And that's important to understand, because when you look at the high amounts of money that Call of Duty is bringing in, the only question that's going to be compared to, well, how much did you spend on it? So if Black Ops 6 rakes in a cool $5 billion over the next year, that's a drop in the bucket. Do you get what I'm saying? We're like, bro, they paid $70 billion. You got many more years of Call of Duty, and other games for that matter, that are going to need to. So it's going to take time. That would be different than if they built it themselves, right? If they built it themselves and they were getting that 70% rip at that volume, well, that's the end game. That's the end game. See, that's what Take-Two Interactive is going to get. That's why Take-Two Interactive is just laughing, bro. They're just laughing. Because it's like, we built GTA. Yeah, we invested, what? GTA 6 is going to be the most expensive game ever made. It cost $2 billion to make GTA. Yeah, that's really, wow. It cost you $2 billion you had to invest $2 billion into the most profitable video game ever made in history. That's crazy. That's actually crazy low, considering there are companies spending literally 10 to 70 times more than that. Or yeah. I mean, they're paying unbelievable amounts of money to secure that surefire, like, we're gonna make the money. But when you gotta spend the money you do have to spend money to make money. But that's really kind of the difference between how I would say Sony and Microsoft is operating, and especially when you compare it to like third-party publishers, where they're all spending money, but who's spending the most money? But see, that things get all fucked up, because it's like, well, it doesn't matter, because that's $70 billion is basically chump change to Microsoft as a whole. But I'm just trying to say to you that what Sony built themselves, I don't think people understand how valuable that is to not just the brand, but the company. Sony had to spend a lot of money over the last 30 years to build the PlayStation ecosystem up to where it is. So it didn't come cheap, but that money was spent over a very, very long period of time. And in the process, they've gotten many, many returns. They've had some losses along the way too, but mostly, you look at where the PlayStation brand is now, mostly large returns. And that's not something that Sony, because it's not to say that again, that can exist out there, right? Like, well, what if we did just fuck it? What if we did just start putting our games everywhere? It's like, yeah, you could get that 70% rip, and you could get higher sales, and you could ultimately extract more money from these games, but if it comes at the cost of hurting your own ecosystem and storefront, you're losing in the end. You're losing in the end because it is very difficult to establish a successful storefront and ecosystem. It is very difficult. If it was that easy, you'd see a lot more successful storefronts and ecosystems in the gaming space, but you don't. We've seen many companies try to do it, and it just doesn't fucking work. And that's why I'm trying to say, like, what's that ecosystem attached to? What is that storefront attached to? It's attached to their fucking console. That's not something Sony's just going to throw away, man. And believe me, I'm certain that as they inch closer towards that, like maybe going a little bit away from the console, if they start to see their numbers drop, I think they will kind of be like, oh, you know what? Never mind. I don't know if this is worth it. So Microsoft just realized, you know what? Like we could leech off that. And yeah, that's a very viable tactic. All right. A little behind on a couple super chats. Perfect Image, you're saying maybe because Sony owns physical media manufacturers. They do, yeah. And I would hope that helps keep them in the game of physical media. Nero, you're saying Rich Rod is a modern-day philosopher. Is he? Kyle Say Stuff, by the way, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm losing track of some of these super chats. Hopefully I didn't miss any. Kyle Say Stuff says, my young nephew asked, what's your favorite hat brand? I don't even know what brand this hat is, dude. I'm going to be honest. I don't have a favorite hat brand. This is just a random brand I found on Amazon. Just a flex fit hat. Keep it simple. Waylark with another chat says, technically they aren't $70 billion in the hole. ABK is an asset that Microsoft bought with profit that would have just been sitting waiting to be spent or invested. And that's, yeah, and that's true. And that's why, to be honest, that's why if there is ever a major separation, I mean, like even like way more substantial than what we see now between Sony and Microsoft, if that ever does happen, it'll be because, yeah, that's Microsoft, as I said, has something that Sony doesn't. Where Sony wants, listen, here's something that's worth understanding in the greater context of this conversation. Sony wants what Microsoft has. Okay? They do. They want to be worth trillions of dollars as a company. Sony wants to be worth trillions of dollars, and they are not. And Microsoft is. Something that both of these, not only do they have that in common, but something else they have in common is they're both companies that work in different areas. They have areas that are completely separate from one another, different divisions that are targeting completely different markets, completely different products for completely different people. And, the truth is Microsoft is unbelievably successful. They are. Like that, and that's what Microsoft has committed to. And I lose sight of this myself. This is why Waylark, when you ask, like, bro, why are you still talking about Xbox, like competing with Sony? And it's like, yeah, I lose sight of it too sometimes that, bro, Microsoft as a whole decided Xbox is going to succeed. We're going to make it so. We have not been involved directly with the Xbox brand for the whole 20 years of its existence. And by that 20-year mark, we decided, you know what? It's time to get involved. They can't do it. They're not, whoever's over there, they don't know what they're doing. We're going to take care of that. And what that also involves is the complete and utter transformation of the Xbox brand as we know it, which will not be an overnight process. Satya will manifest it. Bro, there we go. There you go. He said it. Nero said it. Satya will manifest it. Yes, he will. And he is. And the idea is Microsoft, the board of Microsoft, the CEO of Microsoft decided if we have, I don't know how many divisions Microsoft has. Maybe somebody can tell me. I know it's quite a few different ones. If we have, and I'm just throwing a number out there, 4 successful divisions. I mean, like really, really successful. I'm talking like these divisions combined are worth trillions of dollars. And we're making tens of billions in profit every quarter. That's how successful we're talking. The day Microsoft decided Xbox, you're now going to be you're going to be the 5th one. Sony can't do anything about that. They just can't. Neither can Nintendo. Sony and Nintendo do not hold a candle to Microsoft as a corporation. And that's not really it's not their fault. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, man, like Microsoft, they basically use the get out of jail free card on the Xbox brand. And it's why when we kind of talk about, well, that seems kind of like that's unfair, that's bullshit. It's like, well, it maybe, but it doesn't really matter because they had the option to do that, and that's what they chose, and they did it, and they're doing it now. And so I did have this conversation with you guys, I believe last year, and basically the conversation went something like this. It would be very unwise of Sony to try to chase Microsoft. Because the truth is, at the rate Microsoft is going, they will likely eclipse Sony at some point. I don't know when that will be, but they will eclipse Sony. And that will happen again because when Satya Nadella says we're going to invest in this asset to bring the brand up to the standard we expect, they're operating in territory that Sony doesn't operate in. Sony doesn't have anything that's that valuable, and so you do kind of realize that, and this is why it's kind of funny where Microsoft took Xbox out of the console wars. And it's why it's funny when you see people, and I still kind of have this frame of mind from time to time too, where it's like, bro, the console wars are over. It's no longer about determining whether or not Xbox sucks or not. It's a matter of like, do you want to partake in Xbox or not? Because they're just there. It's kind of reached a point where it's like, hey, do you buy Capcom games? You do? Oh, okay. Or you don't. Maybe somebody does. No, I don't buy Capcom games. Why? I'm just not into them. Yeah, that's where Xbox is now, man. Like totally and entirely, or at least they're going to be very, very soon. And I don't know, man. I just don't know that there's a part of me that is what I'm ultimately wondering. Listen, what I'm ultimately wondering, and because Waylark, you kind of got me thinking about got me in my own head now, where I'm trying to think like, why am I so focused on the stuff that Microsoft's doing? There has to be a reason. Like, even if I can't see it clearly, like I know that there's something kind of scratching at the surface there. I think it's ultimately because there is a part of me that actually does think it, like the ultimate bigger picture goal here from Sony might be to chase Microsoft. In the end. Because what we don't know is how Sony will react the day Microsoft fully eclipses them. What we do know is Sony will know. What we all know is that, oh yeah, they paid to make that happen. They threw money around that we could only dream of. And my question is how does Sony react to that? Like is Sony actually confident enough to believe and convince themselves that we can do that, but we could do it without spending that money? And what does that look like? When you listen to Sony CEO talk, sometimes, specifically the CEO, Kenichiro Yoshida, sometimes I do think that they might be slowly inching that way where they're like, I think they start to believe they can do this shit. And I don't know, man. You're saying they can't. That's why that was part of the ABK deal. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm pretty sure somebody at Sony is pissed off. Like, I'm pretty sure somebody at Sony is pissed off. I don't know who, but I'm pretty sure they fucking hate Microsoft, dude. I'm pretty sure because like, think about it, man. Imagine you got him on the fucking ropes. You got him on the ropes. No. You don't even got him on the ropes. You got him in the middle of the ring. They're down. They're fucking down. And all that's left to do is just count. Call it, right? And as soon as Sony's going up and they're about to do it, Daddy Microsoft gets tagged in. They got away, man. It's so funny. It's so funny to kind of talk about it from this point of view, because I do think this is like really how it went down. Waylark, you're saying Microsoft just spent $320 million buying a cybersecurity firm a few days ago. They have too much money. It seems like it. They should give some to Sony and Nintendo. Also, you think Microsoft gave Ubisoft that 15-year cloud deal for ABK games, knowing they will acquire them? No, I don't think so, Waylark. I think if Microsoft had any intention of trying to acquire Ubisoft would be forced to then sell that to, if not sell it, give it to another entity. There's no way they would be allowed to, unless there's some kind of crazy ass loophole. Unless there's some kind of crazy ass loophole that I am not, and there might be. I'm not a lawyer. There might be. I don't think that would happen. It just seems too like, it's too like, how could this happen? You know what I mean? Like, how could this be possible? But stranger things have happened. So I don't want to completely discount it and make it seem like it's, again, there might be some kind of whack loophole that Microsoft and Ubisoft and everybody involved absolutely know about. Yeah, I don't know, Waylark. Listen, I just want to see the console wars. The only way the console wars will fully, truly end is when Microsoft puts out an image of a PS5 saying this is an Xbox. All right? That's got to happen. Scuba Tank filled with farts says it's going to be much easier for Microsoft to acquire companies and publishers when the Trump's FTC regime comes in. Biden's FTC was very against mergers. I've been seeing a lot of people floating this around, and yeah. And that's what I mean. It's like, if you're Sony, you probably already know that, and you're like, well, it's more a reason why I say, like, Sony. See, here's what I don't quite understand about, at least it's something I'm still trying to fully understand. Sony has this ambition that seems to match Microsoft's. And I get it, because it's just, well, I mean, the ambition at the end of the day is kind of the same for all these companies. Be the biggest, be the best, be untouchable, be fully in control. Make the most money. Right? the ambition is the same across the board, but the means in which they are trying to achieve this, what confuses me about Sony is they continually make certain decisions that are leaning more and more so to, yeah, we're doing some of the things that Microsoft is doing as well. We have to, because, well, it's apparently going to be necessary. And in doing this, they are, I mean, I don't know, maybe they're right about it, because it's like, I could just tell, like, people are waiting for the needle to drop. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. People are waiting for the needle to drop with Sony. And what I mean by that is, and I know you guys see this too, like, everywhere we look, there's people basically be like, yeah, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do the whole thing. They're gonna go to PC day and date. They're gonna start putting games. I mean, dude, I literally saw people, Xbox fans, floating around. I mean, it was a 4chan post, but floating around a 4chan post where Sony announces a partnership with Nintendo to bring their games to Nintendo. And everybody's waiting for this needle to drop, where we see an interview with Herman Hulst where it's a reflection of the interview we saw with Phil, where it's like, yeah, we're going to bring 5 of our games to Xbox or Switch. And this is what we're going to start doing. And you see the way Phil talks about it. Phil's like, yeah, you're going to see other companies do this too. And this is where, dude, like, Microsoft, they come on, they're mostly passive, but make no mistake, dude, Microsoft is out here, like, low key flexing, like passive aggressively flexing on like Sony, like, kind of trying to look at it as like, yeah, well, you know, hey, whenever you're ready, let us know when you get the memo. And that's crazy, because it's like, again, it went from, dude, Sony fucking suplex them. I'm talking like Resident Evil 4 Leon suplex to this. And that's why I doesn't anybody find the way Sony communicates these days? I find it so fucking strange, because I'm like very much in speculative conspiratorial territory. I am certain that the reason why PlayStation's communication is the way it is because they are fucking sitting there, literally at the edge of their seats. At any moment, they're like, with their finger over the button, like, not today, but we're ready. At any moment, we're ready. We're press the button. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I guess I'm basically describing, like, I'm describing what I guess said the other day, which is, dude, the biggest changes have yet to take place with PlayStation. And I'm not here to say whether they're going to be good or bad, but what I am here to say is, when these changes, if there's still a bit of if there, that's what I mean. That's the elusive part. But when these changes, if they do occur, when they do, they're going to, like, it's going to change. And this is like, all right. Let me back up. What I'm trying to tell you is that if Sony makes those changes, Sony knows there is no way around. If they make those changes, you basically just said Microsoft won. Like, you basically validated their victory. And I'm telling you, there are people at Sony that I'm pretty sure they'd rather lose their job and see the company go under than do that. I'm telling you, like, that's there. And I know that sounds unrealistic, because it's like, bro, this is business. This is business. It doesn't work like that. And I'm like, no, dude, like, you're talking about a Japanese company that fought tooth and nail to fucking be number one in this space. I'm pretty sure that's their nuclear option. Like, they don't want to do it. They will do everything to avoid ever having to do that. And I don't know. And the truth is, like, once they do it, they know you can't go back at that point. And and basically what this conversation all boils back down to. That's true. They're not really Japan-based anymore. Apparently I don't know, there was like rumors that they're becoming more Japan-based now. Like they're leaning more towards that again. We'll see if that happens. But this is why it all comes back down to like the PS5 Pro is the appetizer, man. The PS5 Pro is the appetizer to the new entree we're waiting to find out what is it going to be. Because we went from the PS4 and Xbox One to the Series X and the PS5 pretty much having the expectation generally was, this next entree we're going to get, pretty similar to the last one. And the last one was fucking good. And we were mostly right. For the first 2 years, that's mostly what it was. And then just out of nowhere, oh, wait, hold on. No, this is different. Because suddenly you get Sony coming out and be like, actually, we are going to put some games on PC and we're going to make some live service games and Concord, And then Microsoft is like, I mean, dude, Phil Spencer, yeah, we're not trying to out-console Sony or Nintendo. We lost the worst gen there was to lose. We're fucking done. Okay? We're done. By the way, we're also buying Activision Blizzard and Bethesda. And we might put some games on PS5. So, what we kind of saw was the closing of a book. Not a chapter. The closing of a book. That occurred. Probably, I would say that occurred in 2022 when the first announcement was made. We entered the final chapter of the console wars, right? Microsoft announces they're acquiring Activision Blizzard. That's the final chapter. That lingers for about a year and a half. And now I think we've reached the point. I think the PS5 Pro is the first chapter, honestly, of a new book here. And that book is, well, I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know. That's where my analogy basically falls off a cliff, because the PS5 Pro is the first real challenge for Sony, dude. In that, this isn't, people are not high-fiving the same way they were with the PS4 and even with the base PS5. There's a lot less high-fiving, but it's like, well, it's okay. It's okay. There doesn't have to be as much high-fiving. If you're not high-fiving, it's just not for you. That mentality surely can't linger, right? That mentality of you don't need, because what does that sound like to you? See, I'm making sounds now. I don't even know what's going on. But what does that sound like? See, what that sounds like is, remember when we kind of acknowledged that Xbox has this mentality where you don't have to buy the Xbox. Lolly lule low. You don't have to buy the Xbox. It's optional. Oh, so that's what that sounds like. But it's different because Sony is saying, no. You do have to buy the PS5. You do have to buy the PS5. They're just saying that to the PS5 Pro. But that's where things get interesting, because everybody seems to be under the impression that, well, but wait, man, the PS5 Pro, that's going to be the PlayStation 6. Not completely and entirely, but very similar. It's going to be super expensive. It's going to be hard to see the differences. It's going to be next gen. It's going to have a bigger push, and it's going to be more necessary. But generally speaking, we are seeing again, kind of the first preview, if you will. The beta version, I guess, or the alpha version of what the PS6 might be. And that's where I'm so eager, bro. I know I said earlier in the stream, enjoy the moment. But the more I contemplate it, the more I think about it, I'm so fucking eager to know, Sony, bro, what's the play here? What's the fucking play? Microsoft is implementing their play right now. They decided on their play and they're executing on their play. I'm not saying it's, working exactly on the timeline they expected it to, but they're doing it. Nintendo, same thing. Nintendo knows the play and they're about to execute it. Sony, what's your play? Because what's confusing to me about the play that we're seeing from Sony right now is we've seen this play already. We know Sony's answer is this is the play. The PS5 Pro is the play. Wolverine is the play. That is the play. And I'm like, I know that. Like, we know that. Sony, you know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. That's been the play since 2020. That's been the play since 2014. But the real question is, Sony, is it going to be the same play in 2028? Well, is it? Tell me, goddammit. You're tired of everybody downplaying the PS5 Pro? Well, you don't have to feel so annoyed by that because, dude, the PS5 Pro is doing fine. The PS5 Pro is selling better than the PS4 Pro. And I do wonder what Sony thinks of that. But yeah, I'm really entrenched in this. I don't know. I'm sure you guys realize that, for those who tune into the streams very frequently, I'm sure you kind of have picked up on the fact that I always, or not always, but many, many times I kind of come back to this focal point. This focal point of I feel like we already know the play for the next couple of years. And it's not that I'm not interested in that play. I am. I'm interested in everything that's going to happen for the next 2-3 years. But I have this lingering feeling, especially now that, dude, I don't know if people know this or not. Hiroki Totoki runs the PlayStation ship now. I mean, maybe a lot of you here did know that, but we talk about Herman Hulst being a CEO. We talk about Hideaki Nishino being a CEO, but the reality is the buck stops with Totoki. And he is at Sony Japan HQ. And he is the money man. He is the bean counter, as they say. And he also doesn't really know much about games, but he knows a lot about business. And he knows a lot about how to run Sony as a business, as a corporation. And I think it's these combination of things here. It's why I can't seem to deviate my attention away from it. It's hard for me to, because we have Microsoft coming out with a new marketing campaign that is literally basically saying, you don't need to buy our Xbox console because the device you have in your hand or your lap or in your room right now is an Xbox. And that's not surprising, but then I turn my attention to Sony. I'm like, Sony, you see this? What do you think? And the only response I see from Sony is, so did you buy that PS5 Pro or not? It's like, yeah, I did. Okay. All right. Stay tuned. We got some more games coming. We'll show them when we're ready. It's like, oh okay. All right. Alrighty. And I'm just eager to know, man, as all this is happening. Devil Shooter, you said Sony's boiling the frog slowly. Perfect Image, you're saying MBG, if PlayStation wanted to work with Xbox, they wouldn't sell IP. Trying to understand what you're saying here, Perfect Image. They wouldn't. I mean, Sony doesn't really sell IP, though. You know? Like, the thing... Oh, you're saying... So, to clarify, apparently Sony didn't sell Death Stranding. Yeah. So, the situation there was Sony never owned Death Stranding. Kojima basically... It sounds like what happened was a deal was signed for 5 years where Sony would be in control of Death Stranding for 5 years. No, that's a bad way to put that. Basically, Kojima was not allowed to say he owns Death Stranding or to put Death Stranding on a competing console until that 5-year contract was up. Once that contract is up, Kojima can do whatever he wants. And he did. Bro put out a whole video and everything. And this is why Rich Rod's so mad. Steven, you're saying you don't listen to paid shills passing on Sony. Games play better than Xbox mostly. $700 SpongeBob console and stripper glitter console for $600. God damn. Steven Leon's bringing his own savagery. That SpongeBob console is kind of funny, though. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie. That was kind of funny. SpongeBob plates would be fire. Yeah, they would. Xbox players better buy Death Stranding the way they hype Kojima up now. Oh, you won't see those sales numbers. I don't think you'll see those sales numbers. I'm sure some people bought it, but I don't think many. I'll be honest, bro. Most Xbox players were probably asking, why isn't this on Game Pass? And I get it. Dude, I was kind of surprised. I'm like, why isn't it on Game Pass? Because, dude, Death Stranding was on PC Game Pass. So, yeah, I'm not even trying to be like a dick when I say that, but it's just, honestly, I think people would have expected if it was going to come to Xbox, it would have been. But yeah, it's only $20. They did discount it. I will say they clearly understood that they needed to discount the game. Oh my God, why is my eye itch like this? Holy dude, it's always this part of my eye. I don't know why. It itches like crazy sometimes. It itches so bad I have to control myself to not keep itching it, or I'm gonna like destroy my eye or something. Sony is a hardware company. Microsoft is a software company. Well, I want to go back to what Devil Shooter said a moment ago. He was saying that he thinks Sony is boiling the frog slowly. And I mean, yeah, I get that sense too sometimes, Devil Shooter, where it does feel like Sony is taking the very slow approach to kind of, and other people have said this where it's like a lot of people are trying to say like, bro, don't you get it? You're the frog. Like, you are the frog. Get out. Get out while you still can, or before it's too late. And what does that mean? In this context, it means just accept that eventually Sony is going to go day and date on PC, except that they probably are going to eventually start releasing some of their games on other consoles as well, even if it's their back catalog. And that they're going to go harder with their sub-services and there's going to be less of a focus on hardware. Just accept that, right? And that's where I'm still, I don't know, like I'm still trying to figure out, like, wait, I don't know if I'm am I the frog though? I don't know, because I don't think that is 100% correct. I accept the idea of like, that's very much a possibility. Yeah, like that could, I'm not like in such denial where it's like, no, that can't happen. And I have, again, I've been the person saying expect anything from Sony, But there's still just some things where I'm like, I just don't see them doing it. Like I would have to see it to believe it, because it's like, wow, you really are going full tilt, right? When I would have expected they would never go full tilt like that. They would never do that, just because it doesn't make any sense. But that's why I try to frame things in the context of, it doesn't make sense now. It doesn't make sense now. Maybe it makes a lot more sense to go full tilt 4 years from now when the PS6 is coming out at $700, if that happens. Maybe then it makes perfect sense. Or maybe not. Maybe Sony will see what they can do with the $700 console. I don't know. We are on the cusp of a lot of change. That is what I do know. We are on the cusp of a lot of change, and I'm not just talking about Sony. There's going to be some major shit going down in 2025. All right? And those are just going to be the precursors. Those are just going to be the precursors. It's going to be a hell of a ride. Well, that's that you're saying, like what? Well, I don't know the future, obviously. Like I could maybe if I sat down and wrote down a list of my actual predictions, I could try that. Maybe that'd be a fun thing. Actually try to write down some predictions of what I think will happen. Oh shit, actually. Oh, see, I'm glad I remembered. You reminded me. I'm pretty sure I did do a whole written down list of predictions in January of this year. And I said, we'll come back at the end of the year and see what I got right and what I got wrong. Ooh, that'll be fun. We'll save that for either the end of November or sometime in December. Please remind me. Devil Shooter, I'll leave it on you, man. Remind me if I forget at some point. Remind me like 2 weeks from now if I forget. Maybe we could make that like the Thanksgiving stream or something. We could all point and laugh at me and how wrong I was. Remind you of what? Remind me that I did a predictions stream or video. I don't know. I don't remember if I did both. I did predictions at the beginning of this year. And I want to, in case I forget, remind me at some point in the coming weeks to do a reaction, like to go back and see what I got right and what I got wrong. I don't think I'll forget now because I just thought of it. But just in case I do forget, I'm sure you guys will remind me. Nothing ever changes apart from the amount of amazing games per year. Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't even been talking about that aspect, but at the end of the day, dude, like, I mean, that's really all that matters, you know? That's really all that matters. Thank you, Devil Shooter. Thank you. All that matters is the games, but, you know, I'll be honest, man, I can't really say that that's 100% true all of the time, because I would be lying if I said I don't also care about how I engage with those games. And you know what I mean? If the games were all that mattered, then, you know, at that point I may as well just stream games, right? It matters how I engage with them as well and how I consume them, and it's a whole thing for me. And I think that goes for a lot of people. So I think that's why when I had these extended conversations about the entirety of the ecosystem as well as the business and the business decisions, it's because I guess I'm assuming that Sony is, I'd say there's a pretty high probability they could alter and change that, if not for me, for the wider audience. And that is something I'd be very curious to see the reactions to. You think I wouldn't notice the latency when streaming some games? I think I would, at least a little bit. At least a little bit. Maybe not that, I don't think it's as bad these days. But it depends on your connection, you know? Yeah, and if your internet goes down, right? But whew, what a long conversation, man. I'm beat. I used all my brain power. My brain's like a server, it's shutting down. All right. Let me get out of here. Sorry, I'm just closing some tabs right now. Now I'm checking a couple of things. Sorry for the dead air. Okay, I now see that the report about Neil Druckmann and not The Last of Us, but Naughty Dog is starting to make the rounds, which is good. Jeff Keighley says Monday the nominees for the 10th anniversary for the Game Awards will be revealed. All right. Exactly 1 month until the show. Wait, exactly 1 month? I thought it was on the 12th. Wait. Was I wrong this whole time? It is the 12th, right? I'm like waiting for my chat to answer. Yeah, today's the 14th, but Jeff Keighley's wrong. How could he be wrong about this? How can Jeff Keighley say exactly 1 month? Oh, wait, hold on. No. Oh, no, he is fucking right. Wait, what? You know what? Never mind. I'm getting my shit. Yeah, I'm getting my shit all confused. I'm like, wait, what is going on? I just gaslit myself so bad. I'm like, I was so confused. Yeah. Top comment. Dragon Age Veilguard will win Game of the Year simply because of the agenda. Calling it now. We'll be surprised if anything else wins. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. That would be so fucking funny. That would like it would be so funny, man. If that game won Game of the Year, because you know, like the internet would explode. The internet would explode, bro. And it would be just at that point I would just be sitting back with popcorn, you know. All right, let me just clean up here and make sure I didn't miss any other breaking news potentially over the course of stream.
streaming live on Monday, November 18th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. GMT at thegameawards.com.
All right. Game Awards. All right. Yeah, it looks like that was basically the only thing I missed. All right. All right, let me come back to the chat now. Damn, Josh. Josh is passionate right now. He's like, I swear to God, if Final Fantasy VII Rebirth doesn't win, I'm going to snap somebody in half. I'm going to punch a wall. I'll punch 10 holes in a wall. No, I'm going to punch 7 holes in the wall. 7. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, What game am I playing right now? Well, for the past couple nights, I've been playing Black Ops Zombies, trying to complete one of the Easter eggs, and it takes so long to complete it. Sitting there for like 3 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever, just to die, just to fucking die, and I get so pissed off and so disgusted, and I yell out loud, I'm like, this fucking Microsoft's fault. This is Xbox's fault. Ironically enough, I'm playing crossplay with one of my friends that plays on Xbox, and we've been trying to complete that, and it's just not working. But we're probably gonna keep trying till we get it. Outside of that, I've been playing Until Dawn. However, within 30 minutes of playing Until Dawn, I realized that this is a game that Mrs. MBG would love to. For sure. And I was immediately sold on the game within the first half hour. I'm like, yes. Yes, I like what this is doing. And so I want to play it with Mrs. MBG. And I've been playing a little bit of Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. I don't know how I'm feeling about playing through Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered right now. Where I don't know, man. I notice I'm kind of getting into this slump again, and this always happens at spontaneous times throughout the year where it feels difficult. I'm telling, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just what's going on in my life right now, if I got other things on my mind. But you ever had those times where it just feels difficult to actually put a game on? You think about playing a game, you just boot up your PS5, and then you just kind of sit there for a little bit, and you're hovering over the games, and you don't, you're just looking at it, and you're just thinking, but there's just something holding you back. And I don't know if it's because I just feel like I can't focus enough, or I don't know if it's my attention span or something. I'm getting old. Maybe it's that. I don't know. It's a thing that happens occasionally, and you end up watching a movie instead. I don't end up doing something like that. I don't know. I don't know what I don't end up doing something specifically instead. It almost feels like a form of procrastination, which is weird because it's what is there to procrastinate on? Either play it or don't, man, But I just get this kind of weird feeling. But that's why you bought the Crew Motorfest. Reminds you of old times when you played Need for Speed. Steve, you're saying that happens to you sometimes. You watch a movie or go for a walk. I usually end up playing the drums. I think is the more I was thinking about it a little bit more. I'm I think that's usually what I gravitate towards. I go play the drums, and I don't necessarily feel any different afterwards though. And that's what's interesting is I feel like it's almost like a barometer to be able to measure is there something on my mind, something like a splinter in my mind of some kind. You end up doing mostly nothing. happens to us all at a certain time. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like I end up doing nothing. Like hours go by and I think, wait, what did I do? So you did nothing. You didn't do anything. I mean, something has to be going on though, right? Like something's going on in your brain. Something's going on, but I don't know what. Browsing. I mean, yeah, a lot of times you end up just scrolling. But then I become like self-aware of it where I'm like, hold on. Why did I choose to do this? To just sit here and scroll? Like, what? And then I'll stop doing that. But then I'm like in the same exact spot where I'm like, it almost feels like boredom. But that's what's weird is it's like, dude, you have like a laundry list of things at all times of the day to do. So it's not like you don't have things to do. Those are things that you want to do. Those are things that you need to do. And it just kind of, I don't know, it just happens where it's just like, there's like this kind of standby mode that my brain wants to go in sometimes where it's like, all right, I'm just going to enter standby mode and just do nothing. And then I get really annoyed by it because I'm like, what the, that's, like, why would I do that? That happens to you every time you finish a game, Josh? Yeah. I mean, it's weird too, because sometimes I feel more sensitive to things where like, sometimes I have these days where I don't know, I just like things are hitting differently, including video games, where it's hitting. Like it doesn't matter what I'm playing. It doesn't matter what game I'm engaging with. It's just, I'm feeling it. It's hitting. And when I feel that, I'm like, man, I wish it could be this way all the time. Like, oh my God, it'd be amazing. If it was that way all the time, I'd be playing every fucking game all the time. I wish everything felt like that all the time. But I don't know. Maybe my brain is I feel like my brain's getting a little weird as I get older, Anybody feel that way? With age, my brain's getting weird. You play the game in your mind and it doesn't sound fun in that moment. Yeah, I mean, you do kind of contemplate it a little bit. I don't do drugs. Mr. B, you're saying you can relate. Josh, you rewatched The Office for the millionth time? I love The Office. Did you? Oh my God, dude, did you see, was it like an Australian remake or something of The Office? Did you guys see this? I saw this a couple weeks back. It was like the first trailer for the Australian remake of The Office. I thought it was fake. I was like, this is laughably bad. Like, this definitely is parody. It's real. And I'm like, holy shit. It looks astonishingly bad. Like, astonishingly so. The only thing you will understand, MBG, is that when you're 50, you will wish you were old at 30 again. We don't know. Yeah, that's a thing that I've heard 50-year-old plus men say frequently, or not just men, but people in general. So that's why I'm trying to prepare now. I'm trying to, I feel like the things I do now, if I live to be 50 and beyond that, I want my future self to thank my past self, right? Man, it's so much easier said than done. No, I didn't watch The Penguin. I heard it's really, really good, though. Saying you just pre-ordered Stalker 2 Collector's Edition. Didn't even know there was going to be one. Yeah, Stalker 2 looks good, man. I do hope it comes to PlayStation. I think it is coming to PlayStation. Steven, you're saying yes, but I would not change a thing. So that's good, though, right? That's like the best. That has to be one of the best feelings when you reach a. Because I don't know when they call it like the midlife crisis or whatever. When you reach like your late 40s or early 50s, a lot of people kind of do go into a crisis mode of some kind where you realize like you're, not to be dark about it, but you're way closer to death than not, and because of that, you start to reflect on your life and all your decisions, and And, you know, some people, it doesn't go well. You know, it doesn't go well for them, and they find that they have a lot of regret. And so, I mean, hitting that age and feeling that way, like you wouldn't change a thing, I think that's ideal. I would say that's what we want to strive for. Navins, you're saying I would tell you to watch MVG, but you don't watch anything I recommend. Yeah, I have a list next to me. It's actually hung up on my wall, at all times, and it's titled Navinzer recommendations, and I write it down, and I specifically write it down so I know never to watch it. Some stuff MVG's taken to the grave. Oh shit. Titus, you're saying, what would I change? When I was super fit, I'd have kept it going. Dude, the past couple weeks, I've not been feeling great. Feels like there's just been like a constant rotation of like different viruses or something constantly going through my home. And I've really dropped the ball on exercising and working out. I've also had that like stomach problem, which I think is starting to go away. Thank God. Like, I think it's finally starting to go away. And all that just kind of happening at one time. I'm like, I haven't been working out. And you know what? The problem was too, is like, I did try to work out a couple times and I felt terrible. I felt absolutely horrendous. And I'm like, I like literally can't do this. And I start to get like really anxiety about it because I'm like, I don't want to lose progress. I don't want to lose muscle mass. I don't want to get fat. I don't want to get skinny. I want to get out of shape. Because, dude, when you get out of shape, getting back into shape is hell. It's absolute hell. And it's not easy. It's like, it's so hard, man. So I definitely don't want to get out of shape. Yeah, I mean, this is basically a bit of a micro members lounge without it being a members lounge, but I'm probably going to wrap up the stream soon. I'm just realizing we're hitting the 3-hour mark. I mean, what I'll say here is that these days, the thing I struggle with the most, and I'm not sure if it's going to linger. It feels like it's been lingering for a while, to be honest. Like, basically when I turned 28 and I'm 31 now, and I noticed it's not that it's gotten more intense, but there are moments, I guess, where it has. But the hardest thing I've been dealing with is like not being completely apathetic towards life. And that is a weird thing because I didn't feel, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm like a very depressed person at this point. I don't know. I don't always feel depressed. Certainly not. But the darkest feeling, like the heaviest feeling that I experience is just these kind of days. And sometimes it can go for more than a couple days, but just this weight of like, does anything matter? And it fucks with me so bad. I do have a son, you know, and obviously I love him very much. And I totally get where people come from and are like, my kids are and I'm not trying to make it sound like, it's not like I'm in a fucking dark place and I can't function and I'm like, you know, I'm like morbidly depressed every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I can't get out of bed. I luckily I'm not in that position. I'm just saying it's more like it's like a philosophical conundrum, you know? It's like basically any time in my life I start to ask, if the thoughts pop up in my mind of like beginning to ask the bigger questions, I realize it's not that I don't have answers. It's just that what I realize is the only answers I have are the ones I give myself. But then I guess this is just where my mind starts to crack a little bit, where it's like, but who are you? You see what I'm saying? It's like, who am I? I'm just some random person walking the planet among billions of other people. So who am I to say that the answer I give myself is correct? And I feel like sometimes it's almost like sometimes I think it's like a kind of ego protective thing. Because, yeah, Josh, you're saying you were asking that question when you were 8. Dude, I feel like the difference was I did ask these questions when I was young, but I had very different answers. Like, I feel like dude, listen, I've never done like drugs or anything like that, but I seriously feel like at some point I experienced ego death without trying. Like, I'm not even kidding. It feels like at some point my ego just fucking died. And I think that was kind of problematic for me, because I think up until that point, that's what was really driving me for most of my life, is the kind of ego of like, I don't know. I just had a different view of myself. Like when I was 21, when I was 23, I just had a different view of myself of like, I fucking know who I am, you know? I know life. I get it. And then it's just like 28 rolls around and suddenly I'm like, wait, hold on. No, you know? And now I'm just fully like, I see things. I find myself observing human behavior now. And my cynicism is off the charts, and I like can't stand it. Like, I can't stand it to a point where it's like I don't want to see it, because I'm just going to be cynical, and I'm tired of being cynical. I'm tired of being cynical all the time. It's not with literally everything or everyone, but especially these days, right? Like, you talk about scrolling on the internet, and it's like the shit I see, and I'm like, it's like, oh man, I don't even, like, I don't want to get too heavy, but it's just you that's what starts to put me in a darker place, where I'm like, all right, these are not healthy thoughts, and I don't want to be here. And, you know, I have to be responsible as I can, where it's like, well, I have a choice, you know, like, it's not that we do have a choice. Do you want to continue to just sit and ruminate and think, or do you want to just do something? At least put yourself in front of something else to potentially elicit different thoughts. That's where I try to be responsible and understand that I do have that power, I do have that ability, and yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's the problem, right? See, maybe I just figured it out. Just a little while ago, I was asking, you guys ever just sit in front of your console with the screen on and just stare at your games and then like not know what to do? You're just like, nah. Maybe this is why. Maybe it's because I got these like really deep, lingering thoughts. The things my kid finds on YouTube is insane. I know. Oh, I know, man. Like, I constantly think to myself, the Death Stranding 2 mantra, should we have connected? I mean, I really hope Death Stranding 2 is a commentary on the, like, how the internet seemed like such a good thing at first, and then it's like, well, actually, it turns out there's a really bad side to it with some serious consequences associated with it. And I hope it's some kind of commentary on how we maybe shouldn't have connected this deeply, and it's not good to connect on this level, and it's not good to know what people are doing at all times of the day, and it's not good to scroll on social media and see pictures of other people's lives, but really you're just getting a very curated glimpse that's not real, but yet it has a profound impact on your psyche and how you think and feel about yourself. And yeah, man. God, it's a lot. It's a lot. Somebody, yeah, choose your consumption wisely. Absolutely. Somebody said to me on on Twitter today, they were like, bro, have you considered switching to Blue Sky? It seems like a lot of people are moving over there. And I think Blue Sky is like an alternative to Twitter. I don't even know what I don't know much about it, but I was just thinking in my head, like, no, dude, I'm thinking about just piecing completely, like I haven't yet, and I don't know that I'm going. I always talk about it, but like, rather than go from one social media site to another, I think I would just be done. Where it's like, I don't want to go to a place that's basically just like this place, but maybe, it would be nice if it was less rude, but it's still basically the same idea, And sometimes, dude, you know what I wonder the most? I'm like, why do I even bother? Like, I have YouTube. Like, I have a large following on YouTube, a relatively large following, at least to me it's large, of people, of like-minded people, mostly like-minded people on YouTube, like, and we talk. Like, what else do I need? You guys are enough for me, man. It's only less rude if you don't speak your mind. Something to that. Twitter's going to be the end of civilization. Yeah, it's concerning out there, man. You deleted all your socials about a year ago. Haven't been back since. Love it. That's great. I've seen a lot of different pieces of content, ironically enough, that were created of people talking about that, like getting unaddicted to their phone and all that stuff and deleting social media. Blue Sky is great as an app. I might look into it. I don't know. I just want to stop. Like, this is what I mean, dude. I sit here and I'm like, I want to stop using Twitter, and yet I couldn't stop myself from posting that response to Jeff Keighley today. It's like, I deserve this. I deserve what I get. All right. Well, we're past the 3-hour mark now, guys, and I think this might be a good place to wrap it up. I will say really quick before we go here, I'm gonna do some begging for some memberships. Is that what they call it? E-begging? I'm going to e-beg for some memberships. Please gift some memberships right now. I need them. See, I feel like that's e-begging. But I will say we're sitting at 17. Now is the moment. All right. If we want to hit the goal, we got to do it now, because I'm going to wrap up the stream. I'm content. Listen, I'm content. Would I like more membership gifts? Yes. But it's okay. You don't have to drop membership gifts. All right? There's no pressure. I just like to give people the opportunity, because we didn't get to feed the beast today. Damn, Steven, bro, were you ready? He was like, oh, no, man. My man MBG's over here. He's begging for those gifts. I got to drop them. No, really, dude, thank you. I was not expecting that. That's crazy, Steven. Thank you. Well, there we go. Steven just dropped a 10 bomb on you guys. You didn't have to do that, Steven, but that's very, very kind of you. But you know who's going to be even happier?
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
All right. I do look forward to it now, myself, actually. Oh, boss, I think you lost out again, bro. Sorry, boss. She beat you to it. What are you doing, man? Where are you? You're late. I think boss gave up today. I think he's like, yeah, I ain't getting no treats today. Well, there we go. Thank you so much for the 10 membership gift, Steven. And to anybody who got gifted, if you're here right now, go check out the members launch from yesterday. Tomorrow's Friday. Listen, I do want to give you guys this heads up. I have to sort out scheduling for tomorrow. Really quick, Titus, you're saying, seriously, who the hell are the people getting the gifts? You know what I think it might be, Titus? Because I was thinking about it. It might be new subscribers. Because I was like thinking, like, what else has changed recently? I think it might be new subs. I don't know. Yeah, people. That's what's weird is people are saying they keep noticing like so many of the names of people that are getting gifted, like they don't really show up to the, like they don't see them in the streams. Maybe they're watching. I mean, it is possible they could be watching and just not interacting, but we'll keep doing what we can here. To be clear, I have seen some people. Don't lose hope yet. I have seen some people who are, who are regulars, or if not regulars, I've definitely seen here, and I've seen them get gifted memberships in the past. I have seen some people still receive them, so not all hope is lost. But I do wonder if the influx of like new subscribers could be potentially a factor here. Oh, and Mr. B, thank you so much, bro. Mr. B decides to actually re-up his membership. That's very kind of you, man. Yeah, I mean, it's in my best interest to try to encourage people, if you're not getting gifted, if it's within your means. It is $5, which, not the cheapest thing in the world. I know the value of $1, trust me. But, if it's within your means and you can re-up your own membership, just keep in mind what essentially you're doing is you're pledging some direct support. And I still put it at 27. You're pledging direct support to the channel and contributing to it in a way that allows me to continue to create the content that I do, to be able to stream as much as I do, to be able to make videos every day and produce members content and all that good stuff. So, Mr. B, thank you for that. And there we go, man. 28. Solid. Very solid. What I was going to tell you guys is, you're pledging your sword to MBG's army. Go take on those X-bots. Just kidding. All right, Luna. It's going to be Boss's turn now. Tomorrow, we might be doing a morning with the missus. All right. The only reason I didn't announce it earlier is because I gotta check scheduling. So I gotta talk to her again and make sure I'm pretty sure we'll be able to. But if I got some scheduling conflict going on, then we'll do it early next week. But people have been asking for another morning with the missus, and I think it's been a little bit. So we'll try to do one tomorrow morning, if we can, and if there's a scheduling conflict, we'll do one early next week. Tin Blood, thank you so much, man. Tin Blood decided to re-up his membership as well, taking us to 29. There you go, boss. So 29 memberships. Tin Blood, thank you for the direct support there with the re-upping of your membership, bro. It means a lot. So, there we go. There we go. Boss and Luna are happy. Luna's looking at me like she didn't just get treats. Luna, don't look at me with those crazy eyes. She's like, where are my treats? Where are my treats? Like, you just hate them. You just hate the treats. It's all good. It's Boss's turn. Luna's getting huge. Ray, longtime member for 38 months. He says, keep up the kick-ass work, MBG. Can't wait till the next stream. You make my workday so much more bearable. This message is an Xbox. Oh, damn. We've truly transcended hardware. I appreciate that, Ray. I'm really glad I can help make your workday a little bit more bearable. And I'll try my absolute best to keep up the content. I'm trying real hard to make sure I don't like burn out by overdoing it. Because it's not to say that it's not the hardest work in the world. It's not, but it's more of like a mental thing, really. But I've been enjoying it, man. So thank you guys so much. You all right there, boss? You got something you want to say? Where's the other cat? She's always left out. Leia. Yeah, Leia's the oldest cat. She's very chill, but I don't know. She doesn't really hang out with me on the streams. She doesn't really hang out with me in general. Like, she kind of shows up spontaneously when she wants to, I guess, to check in, and then she kind of is like, all right, I'm out. But all right. Well, the beasts have been fed, and Boss and Luna are having a stare down right now. What does this look like? Look at him, dude. He's growling. I don't know if you can hear. He's like, I don't have any more. Whoa. Okay, I'm not trying to move you. It's cool. I was just trying to pet you. Boss is like, don't you dare. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up today's stream. Really appreciate all the support. Appreciate everything you guys have done for the community and for the channel. And a shout out to everybody who dropped any direct support. We somehow, some way, we made it to 29 members today, which is great to see. Thank you to anybody who dropped any super chats or any direct donations. Really, it's a privilege to be able to do this. So thank you so much for that. And I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps for the streams. If you guys see him in the comments, please give him some thanks. I know it means a lot to him, and he does great work for the channel. So Devil Shooter, shout out to you, man. As always, thank you for what you do. And the only other request I have before you leave is just hit that like button. All right, hit that like button. And oh, hold on. So you never know. 11th hour stuff here, man. Lady K comes in and drops one more membership. Lady K comes in and drops one more membership, bringing us up to 30. Boss, can you please calm down, man? It's okay. Luna's not going to bother you. Do you guys hear him? Is he coming through the mic? I can never tell. It's loud to me, but I know the mic doesn't really pick up that much. So with Lady K's single membership gift, that brings us to 30 to close out the day. And who was gifted that? Aaron Yogurt. Well, hey, I don't know if Aaron Yogurt's here right now, but I've seen Aaron Yogurt many, many times on the streams. They just got a membership gift. So, all right. Lady K, thank you so much for that. And yeah, guys, that does it. There we go. It didn't update. Now it's just blank. Well, it's glitched out, but we are at 30. All right, guys, please enjoy the rest of your day. Again, Devil Shooter, thank you for doing the timestamps. And just be on the lookout. If you are a channel member, be on the lookout tomorrow for an early alert. It'll be in the morning, or at least like 2 or 3 hours earlier than when I do the regular streams. We might be doing a morning with the missus. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. And all right, that does it. I'm out. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. So until then, take care, everyone.